Hello, everyone. Good morning and welcome to the 2024 Real Estate Future Summit. It's a pleasure to have you once again for this amazing summit. This is an iconic summit brought to you by the Intim Group, the Global Startup Ecosystem, as well as Ghana Tech Summit. It's an avenue to learn about how to find, purchase, and invest in properties around the world. And this is a year-long initiative that has had investment workshops every month till this point. And we are glad to come your way with this Real Estate Future Summit to culminate it at the end of the year. So welcome once again to this iconic summit. This is an initiative that's powered by the Global Startup Ecosystem, the Team Group, as well as the Ghana Tech Summit, and it's being streamed across various platforms. So we are all excited to have you here. And then we'll introduce the CEO of Intim Group, the Global Startup Ecosystem, to give her opening remarks. She's in the person of Christine Intim, so it's my pleasure to welcome Christine to the Real Estate Future Summit.
All right. Hello. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Really great. It's really great to have you here.
Thank you so much, Neve and Stan and the whole team for hosting this. Really appreciate this. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so excited to be here to kick off this program. And I am the CEO of the Global Startup Ecosystem, and our mission is to help entrepreneurs launch and build their startup companies with technology. And we partnered obviously with the Intim Group, which is a real estate development advisory firm, and we run multiple programs in the space to really expose individuals to the real estate market, real estate investment opportunities, but furthermore, to really empower and build an ecosystem, a strong ecosystem for real estate, because we all know that this is an industry that is moving very fast around the world, and Ghana is no exception. So I'm really excited to be here and to give you a little bit of brief of what we do in the Intim Group, in addition to real estate services, real estate development. And you could go to intimgroup.com to be able to access our footprint of real estate across the country and around the world. We do also educate people through programs like this summit, but also through our annual and monthly real estate investment workshop series powered by GSC, Ghana Tech Summit, and the Ghana Tech Hub, where we offered a range of different programs to really, again, empower people to really kick off and really tap into the real estate market. And so our events calendar and this initiative actually kicked off last year in 2023, where every single month we were able to welcome over 50 different speakers across the country to talk about whether there were lawyers, analysts, real estate developers, property owners, real estate moguls. I mean, if they were in the industry, they were in these conversations. And it kicked off really with a webinar series for the diaspora who are coming to Ghana in droves to invest in real estate, coming into Africa in droves. There's such a huge population migration happening around the world, right? That is almost like serendipitous because it's something that no one ever anticipated. So we started hosting these webinar sessions to really empower diasporans to relocate and invest and build their wealth in places like Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya. And it really kicked off where we realized that there was also a huge demand locally to understand the real estate market. And then we started also doing them in person at our offices at Intim Group, where every single month we will gather stakeholders in the real estate industry. We did it in January, February, March, April, May, June. Every single month without fail, we were consistently bringing these stakeholders together, empowering people, and we culminated in December with the first Real Estate Future Summit with close to 40 different speakers across the ecosystem coming together to provide knowledge and expertise. And again, these were people in the development sector, property sectors, lawyer, even banks, institution, regulators. If you needed to have a conversation with any member of the real estate ecosystem, that summit and that series was truly empowered, all for free, thanks to a sponsorship by the Intim Group and Ghana Tech Hub and GSC. But this was, our mission to really share the last year's themes, Real Estate Renaissance, Pioneering Pathways to Global Horizons, really embracing this newfound renaissance in the real estate sector and how people can jump in on that. So that was last year's Real Estate Future Summit. And of course, we had headline keynotes by myself and my partner for that program. And many people were able to connect with the Intim Group to find out ways to be able to connect with us further. Okay. Now, of course, This year, we maintain the commitment. 2024, 12 workshops every single month. Without fail, we're able to galvanize a new set of speakers to come in and again empower our local and diaspora audience. And it truly has been amazing to now be able to say that we are the longest free workshop series on real estate in the country. We have galvanized thousands of diasporans around the world to come learn and grow with us. And I'm so excited to not only introduce this year's lineup of speakers for the Real Estate Future Summit, but also kick off by saying that this conversation is going to begin here, where we want to make sure that you are aware of not only the opportunities that you could capitalize on in real estate, but understand that Ghana and Africa has a very powerful ecosystem of real estate professionals that are waiting for you to come not only make an investment, but really empower your life, empower your journey to make a powerful decision that will affect not just you, but your legacy in generations to come. We all know that wealth, real estate is really, really an instrumental part to wealth. There's no successful person on the planet who did not include real estate in their strategy to not only build wealth, but also give back. We've seen people give back by being able to get into the development sector to develop affordable houses, get into the development sector to get people jobs and opportunities and economic wealth, right? There's so many different benefits, not to mention that the real estate sector, if you think about the population boom that's happening across the African continent, Africa is the only place on the planet right now where the population is going up and not down. By 2030, 1 in 4 people in the world on the planet will be African. These statistics are showing you that with such a huge population migration happening, with diasporans from around the world are coming into the continent, and you have a huge youth population that are growing, they're going to need to have homes. They're going to need to have places. They're going to need to grow and develop. So the market demand on the continent is only going to keep growing and growing and growing and growing exponentially, no matter what the economic circumstance. I had a conversation with a couple of our partners who were saying, well, there's a looming economic recession happening, right? And yes, that is true. But real estate, whether there's booms and busts, is something that stands the test of time. Right. And so for those of you, if this is your first time jumping into real estate, I want to kick off with a brief keynote. Usually during our workshop series, I do a 45-minute to 1 hour full workshop training on how to get you prepared for real estate wealth planning, specifically in Ghana and Africa. But I do bring in my expertise from real estate, my real estate background and experience in the United States and across the world, since I've lived and traveled in multiple countries globally, but specifically to Ghana. This is an introduction conversation to the real estate wealth development planning in Ghana. Now, my background, for those of you who are meeting me for the first time, my name is Christine and Tim. I am the founder and CEO of the Global Startup Ecosystem. And as stated before, we're on a mission to really empower entrepreneurs to build not only just resilient companies, impact-led companies, but leveraging technology to launch and build and scale effectively. So I'm really, really excited to be on this conversation. And at GSC, we work with a lot of different stakeholders in multiple industries in the tech sector. But for me personally, I have a portfolio of multiple companies, one for my personal brand, and real estate is one of the portfolio companies that our family hosts as well. And we never really compete with our competitors, right? We believe that the market is ripe for opportunity for all players involved. And so we're real ecosystem builders. We like to bring people together. And so that ecosystem mentality that I've applied in my other portfolio companies, I brought it into the real estate sector conversation. And I've brought a lot of people who you would deem competitors together to have those conversations, because I want them to succeed, because a successful industry makes a successful Ghana, makes a successful Africa, and it makes a successful society. So I'm very, very committed to that mission, to bringing that. And so in my career, spanning over 10 to 15 years in the tech sector, I've been featured on with such fortune and such gratitude to almost every single media outlet in the world. I've been on the Forbes list. My first business is a Harvard business case study. I travel globally to speak on behalf of the U.S. State Department. My career has spanned in so many different ways. And I always say that, my success is not really achieved by title, it's really achieved by experience. I'm so pleased to also share that I'm also a wife and a mother of 4 beautiful children. So my life has really been blessed with so many different touch points across so many different industries through my journey and decision to become an entrepreneur and a serial entrepreneur at that. So I'm truly grateful for my journey, especially since it began with me quitting my job in the banking sector to move to Dubai. And this is where this conversation around real estate begins, because I was in Dubai at a time where real estate was really kicking off in Dubai. And for those of you who've ever been to Dubai, Dubai really expanded to the world, to the universe, with this mentality that if you build it, they will come, right? Dubai's real estate genesis and story is truly crazy, amazing, right? How they were able to build the infrastructure, build the country in terms of real estate. I mean, the tallest building in the world, Burj Khalifa, is still an icon and a representation of not only their resilience, but also their journey and their story as a society. And it's really inspiring. And so, being able to quit my job and relocate to Dubai, I was in the heart of the real estate madness that was happening in Dubai. And quite frankly, as someone who is also in the tech sector, the tech scene also kicked off during that time. So you can imagine myself, being at the heart of technology, business, and real estate all at the same time in a country that everyone was watching. It truly was a huge, huge enabler for my career to be around that in such a young age, but also such an early time in my career. And so through that opportunity, when I quit and relocated to Dubai, I launched my first startup. And many of you who've interacted with me before, I am really passionate about the programs and the work that I do. And my first startup, due to my upbringing in Haiti, you could tell by my accent I'm American, but I'm actually Haitian. I'm Caribbean, Ghanaian, American. I'm very versatile in my background, and grew up in Haiti. Street markets was a huge part of our upbringing experience. For those of you who are on the call, we all know about street markets. There's not one person on the planet who don't know about street markets. That's where you get street food. That's where you buy unique products. I mean, it's a part of human society and culture since the dawn of time, right? And so my first company was really digitizing access to street markets. How do we connect people around the world to street markets globally? And I created the first database of that, and it was able to give economic projections of the market just by looking at prices of products on the streets compared to mainstream society. And it was really an inspiring endeavor, especially coming from 3 generations of street vendors, where my grandmother was a street vendor, my mom was a street vendor. For me to even be the first in my family to go to college, to be able to get a full ride scholarship from Bill Gates, a billionaire who paid $250,000 for me to go to an Ivy League institution and graduate, and to come back to where I began. I mean, how many of you are proud of your upbringing, proud of your experiences? I'm never ashamed of being Haitian. I'm never ashamed of being someone who grew up from a family that really had to really push and persevere. I'm so proud of my grandmother. May she rest in peace, even though she couldn't write her name by the time she died. But she's the reason why my mother was able to grow and bring us to America and live our life the way we are, right? And so I have huge, huge passion for street market economies and economic development in these spaces. And that passion, that resilience really got me so many doors open, to the point within 2 years I made the Forbes list. And that was really a huge turning point for my career, because from doing that, obviously, I was successfully, I learned how to code and was able to teach other people how to build and scale their businesses. And in that space of time, from a successful first company that now a business case study at Harvard Business School, I was able to really share my journey of entrepreneurship and resiliency, how I built this company from scratch, coding while pregnant with my child, my firstborn child, from my husband, that we met together, we came together, and sharing that journey around the world. My speaker career kicked off, and I started speaking at global events around the world. And when you're in a space where you're growing and developing with your business as an entrepreneur, people want to hear your story and share that journey. So I was able to, again, get featured in media outlets around the world. I was able to connect with some of the biggest players, because now I'm invited to spaces that I never knew was possible, making deals and partnerships with major Fortune 500 companies, mean celebrities and heads of states from around the world, and working with different societies, whether it be in the Middle East, Africa, the Caribbean, Europe. I was there, right? So being able to meet all these different influencers around the world really changed my life. And in that space of being a global speaker and being a global influencer, bringing this rallying cry of, if you push, and if you really build with purpose, build with integrity, the world will follow suit and support you. I've spoken at over 300 plus programs around the world in the past 10 years. And I will tell you, some of the lessons that I've learned is that I've taken that journey of resiliency and entrepreneurship to really venture into my second endeavor, which is an organization that I launched about 7 years ago today, which is the Global Startup Ecosystem. And my whole mission with GSC has always been, how do we empower the entrepreneurs that people forget about, right? Because at the time, Silicon Valley, if you guys recall, was all about the tech startup entrepreneurs coming from California. And I was very angry that we all was almost saying that entrepreneurship and innovation can only come from Silicon Valley. And as someone who grew up in the streets of Haiti, traveled the world to over 65 different countries around the world, I saw entrepreneurship everywhere and innovation everywhere. And so I could not accept that mantra. And so GSC was actually born with a Google Doc and a Facebook post to where it is right now as one of being the most global organizations in the entrepreneurship sector, building tech ecosystems around the world. We are also the platform behind major tech summits that you have probably seen over the years, like Ghana Tech Summit, Haiti Tech Summit, Nigeria Tech Summit, Afro Future Summit, Heart Future Summit. We have built over a portfolio of 100 different events globally around the world, and Real Estate Future Summit is a part of that portfolio, by the way. And so coming now specifically to Ghana, my linkage to the African continent, this is me actually coming to Ghana after 9 years. The first time I came to Ghana was in 2009. And I came back again in 2018, pregnant with my husband and I, our second child. And this is when we launched Ghana Tech Summit. And that event had over like about 1,500 people in the room at Accra Conference Center. We took over that entire conference center, all to talk about technology. It was really huge, 100 speakers at the time. And members on the team, they were the original players who were a part of that summit. So they've been with us for now over like 6+ years to see the genesis of that conversation in Ghana specifically. And from there, I'm blessed to say that, Ghana has been a part of my life for a very long time, since a child. But now to be able to come back and really do business in Ghana and work in Ghana and be immersed in Ghana, doing business in Ghana, real estate is definitely a part of that conversation. And so with that said, where I realized there was an opportunity to bring that message and that opportunity to the world was 2019 during the year of return. During the year of return, you could tell that the whole world was watching Ghana. Like this was a huge entrepreneurial renaissance, huge cultural revolution where the world wanted to look at Africa. This is off the back of a successful Black Panthers movement. Like this was literally a year where Ghana, everyone was watching Africa, and specifically everyone was watching Ghana, right? And so many celebrities and icons came to the country, and so many people realized that the real estate industry is now here for a boom, right? And so real estate became a huge conversation because you got to understand, with all these people visiting and also staying and also relocating to Ghana, now there's a huge international demand for real estate properties in Ghana, but also the youth population is growing here in the country. So now there's a huge local demand for real estate because the population is growing at an accelerated rate. So now you have demand on both sides. And not to mention tourism. Even though, for example, that December, there was 175,000 visitors, there's only 5,000 hotel beds at that time. So where's the other 170,000 people going? They're going to people's homes, Airbnb, family and friends, ecosystem. I mean, they're sleeping on floors. Like this is the future. Right. And so the industry was really kicking off. So for us, I want to make sure that we understand, if you are going to invest in real estate in Ghana, you have to understand the entire ecosystem of players, from the real estate agent, the bankers, the lawyers, the brokers, the developers, to the institutional participants who are making it accessible for you to invest in Ghana and grow your wealth, whether it's government, lands commission, regulators like Ministry of Works and Housing, organizations that are really building the next generation of real estate influencers and agents like the Ghana Real Estate Professionals Association, Ghana Real Estate Developers Association, and so on and so forth. And of course, the development crew. I have built multiple houses in Ghana since I've been here, like multiple houses. So I will tell you, I've worked with masons, carpenters, welders, tilers, plumbers, surveyors. I've worked with multiple different agents in the sector. And I want to be able to empower you as you enter the conversations that's going to take place today for the summit, is really prepare you in 5 different ways. One, make sure that you have a real plan to really kick off your journey into investing in real estate in Ghana. If you're planning to really get this done in 3 months, double it to 6 months. You have to be very patient and open, so that way you're not skipping the steps. I see so many people try to show court because they say, I know an uncle, I know this. Work with the stakeholders that I just shared with you here before. They are here. Ghana as a real estate sector is very, very, very established in the sense that these players are here. Work with a lawyer, work with a broker, work with a banker, banker to really start and plan properly. So don't skip the steps, don't find loopholes, really do it well, because you're going to pay the price in full, probably 10 times more in the back end if you really go through a route that's shortcutting, because you're going to pay it in another way. So just do it the right way the first time, so that way you can have peace of mind. The second thing that I will share is that you got to pick your path. A lot of people don't know how to begin. I know culturally and traditionally, and this is something in the Caribbean we do as well, someone in your family buys the land and each generation builds on that land, right? Someone does the first floor or the first room, and the next person does the second floor, next person does the next floor, and little by little, brick by brick, you build over generations, right? And that was usually the original way of doing this. Right now, we see a lot of people where they're buying and building land at an accelerated rate. But with the expansion of the market, now you're seeing people are buying property intact from family homes. I mean, there's government lands that you could buy properties from, individuals, families, but you're also seeing, this is where the industry has really taken a huge shift, is off plan, where you're buying from developers at a lower rate, because by the time that property is intact and ready to move in, the price changes. So you could buy off plan at 100K USD, but once, 2-3 years, once that property is ready on the market, it'll be 250, because obviously real estate appreciates, but also you're buying at a discounted price for the developer to move forward in mass to build a real estate, an estate plan with hundreds of houses, as opposed to individual houses one by one by one. And this really resonates with me, because I saw this industry kick off in parallel to what I saw happen in Dubai, because I was in the real estate industry in Dubai. So to see how it's happening in Ghana, really what's making that happen is really trust. The players are here, people are trusting in the market, and they really capitalize on it. The third thing you need to really think about is like, okay, what type of real estate do you want to dive into? Residential, commercial, industrial? Do you just want the land, right? Right now, this is probably blown my mind. The prices of apartments are now very similar than the prices of houses, which I never anticipated to have. That just shows you the investment and the value of real estate. The real estate market in Ghana is really booming and changing at an accelerated rate. So really, really shocked me to have seen that. And then, of course, I don't get into law into detail, but really understanding the legal ramifications of purchasing property in Ghana as a diasporan or versus as a Ghanaian. As a Ghanaian, obviously, I have different access to property at a longer lease rate than a diasporan or a foreigner who's coming in who have limited terms of the 50 years. But one thing I would say is do your due diligence. Don't just stop at, researching at the Lands Commission. Look at the collateral registry. See if the property is being contested in court. Go to the location and see what the neighbors are saying, because they also have an affiliation with that property. I also tell people, always go visit property at night so you can see what the real neighborhood structure is, and when it rains. So you can see, is it flooding? Is it in a zone? Like, these are things that it's wisdom that will tell you how to do that, right? Because you won't know until you know. You don't want to learn the hard way and figuring this out, right? And of course, really look at the real estate ecosystem and who do you want to connect with based on your budget. If you're looking at affordable, housing and property, then look at state housing, right? Or lakeside. If you're looking at affordable luxury where you want to take a stop a notch, but you want it to be affordable, look at places like Adom City, Clifton Homes, right? But if you're looking at high, real luxury, Golden Key Properties, Trezaco, Deftraco Properties, like each real estate player is tackling a different player in the market, right? So really looking at the firms you want to connect with. And we worked with all these players in the past, by the way, as referrals, as partners, as supporters, right? And so these are players, and the ecosystem is growing. I mean, the last time I did it was 40 main players. Right now it's at 84, right? So it's growing more and more each and every week, and the demand is still not being managed. And of course, many of these real estate developers, by the way, they partner with institutions. So even if you don't have a banking relationship, someone like, Gold Creek Property might say that we have a partnership with FNB Bank. You're welcome to come work with our, Prudential, real estate banker, broker at the institution. They make that introduction. So there's right now, because of, mortgage and those opportunities, you have access to the finance ecosystem as well through these developers. Now, the last thing I will say is really avoid top scam by really doing your due diligence. I can't go over all the details today, but the main thing is to really keep your eyes open. I said this before, don't try to find shortcuts in investing in real estate in Ghana. Don't do it. Don't do it. There's no other scenario than that. Just don't do it. Really take your time. If someone is rushing you, really take pause, because someone who has all the paperwork and everything together, they don't need to rush you. If they really got a good deal on the market, people will take it, right? So don't ever be rushed. Take your time, do your due diligence, go through the process, make your decisions, have your plan, reach out to the players, the stakeholders are there, the stakeholders are ready. Ghana is waiting for you to invest. Ghana has been welcoming you. Ghana is excited for you. And we're so pleased to have all of you here on the session to learn not only how to invest in real estate, but understand the entire flow and process of investing and buying property in Ghana. Is such an amazing wealth investment, such an amazing legacy build. And so I look forward to connecting with you all on LinkedIn. I share insights and leadership all the time on LinkedIn on my page. Feel free to connect. And we wish you all the best to your journey in investing in real estate in Ghana. Thank you so much for having me. And I would love to pass it back over to the team. All the best, everyone, for having an amazing, amazing time at the Real Estate Future Summit. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you very much, Christine, and thank you very much. And we move on to the next person. That's Odette Kumi, our next keynote speaker. We'll have Odette Kumi. Okay.
Okay. Can you
Odette,
hear me?
you're welcome.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Good morning.
Yes, loud and clear. You're ready to go. Thank you so much, Odette. Pleasure to have you.
Hi, Christine. Can you hear me?
Hi.
Yes, loud and clear. You're ready to go.
Okay. So, good morning, everybody. And well, I'm so ill prepared because I got this whole thing late, and so I'm running late. So please excuse me for everything. Okay, but I hope I can give a good message and deliver a good message. Yes, so it's an honor to be here today to discuss the topic of immense
So Odette,
importance.
I believe mic isn't connected, so we'll take you backstage so that we work on it, and then we'll bring you back on.
Okay. All right.
All right. So we'll continue with the programming, and then try and sort out the mic issue with Odette, and then come recap of the previous episodes of the investment workshop that we've been having over the year. Christine talked about it quite a lot, and then we want to show you some highlights of the programs that we've been having over the past 18 to 24 months. It's been an amazing time, and we are grateful to all the speakers that have come on for the program. And we are thankful to our keynote speaker, Christine. We heard from her just a moment ago on that. We are also thankful to all our partners that have made this possible over the time. For this year's summit, we have a great lineup of speakers that will be joining us, and we are thankful to them for their time today. I want to reiterate the theme for this year's summit, which is Navigating Change, Future Ready Real Estate Strategies. And this highlights the growth in the real estate sector, as well as looking forward to the future and being ready for all the navigating the change within this ever dynamic area. and the real estate sector has seen a lot of changes over the years. So we are happy that we could come your way with this year's summit. While this is going on, if you do have any questions or submissions, you could put that in the chat feed, and then we would also address it and share with our larger community. We are really grateful that we have you here today for this session, and do stay with us as we continue with the programming for this year. So welcome, and in the chat you could also introduce yourself and tell us what you do within the real estate sector. We'll be right back with the next session. Okay, welcome back. So for the next keynote session, we have Odette Kumi. She's the CEO and founder of RMK Property Trading. It's a pleasure to have you on today. Welcome, Odette. Odette, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you? Yeah. Okay. All right. Hold on a second. I just have to turn off my other device because there's too many things going on. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Welcome, and the stage is all yours.
All right then. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk a bit about the future trends for real estate, especially in Ghana, and how we're handling it. So if you just give me a minute as I get my PowerPoint slides up, and then I'll be ready to give you a brief on it. So we're talking about the real estate landscape in transition. That's what I'm talking about, and the top trends to look out for in real estate, especially now in Ghana. We can see that there's a surge in housing, but affordable housing is still the bit that I think it still has a bit more for improvement. So if we go down to the first slide, we talk about the real estate market in other parts of Africa, such as Kenya, Nigeria, Rwanda, etc., are experiencing a substantial surge in demand for affordable housing. This is fueled by rapid urbanization, the burgeoning middle class, well, not the middle class, but the working class, and population growth. Okay, so there's this surge, and the challenge now is for the government initiatives to work hand in hand with the private sector to be able to address this deficit. Because despite the increase in residential structures, there's still a deficit of 1.2 million for this particular section of the population, affordable housing. So that's one bit where we see that there's still a demand for that, and there's still a need for the growth in that sector to try and meet the demand for the working class. Just yesterday, I was discussing with a friend how a nurse that somebody employed lives all the way in Kasua. And so she can't work full hours, because if you want her to work full hours, it means by the time she gets home, it's about 10 p.m. And if there was accommodation in this side of town, closer to the city, in quotes, she wouldn't have to travel such a distance. But Kasua is a place where property rates are property rental rates are much lower than in Accra. So that's where most people seem to move to. So we're talking about opportunity and strategy. So it says that with a significant housing deficit and government support, there's a substantial opportunity for developers to invest in affordable housing projects. Government incentives and partnerships with banks further enhance this opportunity. So again, we come to the top trends. We have the growth in the real estate, the luxury real estate. So developers are capitalizing on the burgeoning middle class by constructing homes and amenities tailored to the lifestyle of the young and high-earning professionals. So you see in Accra right now that people say in Ghana there's no money, in quotes, but you see all these developments. Just yesterday, I was saying to somebody, how come there's all these developments when there's supposed to be no money? And so now what we have in Ghana is a glut, because we have all these developments coming up, and unfortunately, the economy has not helped to help people to be able to afford these properties. So we're hoping that maybe things will change in the near future. So the opportunity, again, as I say, is that Ghana's economy has grown at an average of 7% annually since 2017, leading to this bigger middle class, with higher disposable income. And by the end of 2020, the middle class is projected to double to about 15 million people, and that's 30% of the population. So definitely, these new developments being built to, in quotes, sort of be for this middle class, hopefully should be able to meet the demand, because there's a real demand now for these luxury real estate properties. But again, the prices are so high that some of them can't afford it. So it sort of has some people who can, and there's sort of not too many people can afford it because the prices are kind of high. So we're hoping again that with the change of government, people are going to see a little bit of a reduction so that they can afford it, because a lot of people can't afford it. Then we have technological advancements. The real estate sector is embracing technology, with property management software, virtual tours, and online platforms becoming increasingly prevalent. And when we talk about technology in property, that's what we are now trying to push, which is PropTech. And PropTech is supposed to be helping real estate in so many ways. You can use it for your accounting, for your, as we say here, your online platforms, the virtual tours, for management software, etc., property management software to handle your property management. So with these technological advancements, we're hoping that these will help for the future, for the real estate, to make it a much easier, not easier, so that a much, in quotes, easier terrain for people to be able to manage. So with property in these property in real estate, we're hoping that things will get better. But the challenge, though, is that the consumer preferences, with the changing consumer preferences, increase in taste, new and smart technologies are needed to meet this demand. Such solutions can include energy efficient and AI-powered systems, digital marketing platforms, and fraud detection fintech systems. These are the challenges, especially when we're moving toward using technology for property. There are a few things that will a few challenges, and there's solutions that can help it. We now talk about AI and everything. I have a gentleman who works with me, and he's so AI focused. And I said to him, I'm still a bit old fashioned because I still can't get into this AI thing. but hopefully he'll be able to educate me more on it. But these are the challenges, and these are some of the solutions that can help with property, technology in property. So the opportunity and strategy, especially in Ghana, the smart home revolution is gaining traction, with developers and homeowners seeing the benefits of the automation system designed to make everyday living easier and more sustainable. So then we come to sustainable development, which is, everybody's talking about it, global warming and all the factors that are leading to it. And the real estate also is part of this it's also included in quotes global warming because of maybe not energy efficient buildings that are being put up. So there's a growing emphasis on sustainable practices in the real estate sector. Developers are incorporating green building technologies and energy efficient designs to cater to environmentally conscious buyers. So now I think people are beginning to realize that, it's important to have buildings that are energy efficient so that we also help to bring down the, help with the SDGs, the government's SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. So the opportunity and strategy here is that research shows that as a result of the life cycle cost, that the development of green buildings has become an appealing business initiative to pursue in today's market, since the total costs of ownership for green buildings are significantly lower than those of non-sustainable buildings. So here we see that the green buildings are actually less, not as expensive as buildings that are not non-sustainable. And so, we are pushing more, especially in Ghana. We try to push more for developers to understand the need to incorporate into their buildings energy efficient buildings, which help, like solar panels, etc., to help to, with the buildings, and to also help with this trying to bring down the SDGs, trying to help the SDGs. So the future-ready strategies are data-driven decisions where we use analytics to anticipate market shifts and identify growth areas in Ghana. Smart investments focus on emerging neighborhoods and diversified asset portfolios. Sustainability focus, embrace eco-friendly designs such as solar-powered homes, common in Ghana, I just said that. And then to adopt technology, that is PropTech solutions that also help, like virtual tours and smart home features, etc., that are also helping property management. And then flexible leasing models, that is adjust leasing terms to fit evolving tenant needs. So these are basically what I was going to talk about, and I think I've captured everything. I hope that everybody understood what I talked about. And if you have any questions, I'm ready to answer. Hello? Can you hear me?
Okay, hi Odette. Thank you.
Hi.
We can hear you. I'm just
Okay.
checking to see if we can have any questions for you.
Okay.
But it's been an amazing session, and if you could highlight some of the sustainable development initiatives. I know you mentioned some of the sustainable development goals, but have there been any other, for instance, say, green building initiatives that you've seen as a trend?
Okay, so I know that developer like Gold Key won an award for I think going to one of the buildings, which was supposed to be the green building. They won this award, I think, last year. So I think a few of the developers have started, building these sustainable buildings, because they've understood that it's, in the end, it's even cheaper for them, and it's also for the tenant or the buyer that they are hoping to attract, like water efficient systems, all these things that will help to reduce the cost of building and the cost of the sale of a property.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. It's been an amazing session, and I'm sure individuals on the session would reach out to you via your contact links. We are really thankful for your support and for you joining us for this year's session as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay. So that was our keynote speaker, Odette, and we are really grateful for her time today, and we are grateful to have her join us for this year's session. We'll now transition to the first, we'll have a fireside chat for today, and we'll have our speaker, Abdul Razak, joining us soon. So Abdul, we're ready. This panel is going to talk about real estate financing options, looking at mortgages to private equity, and I'll be moderating the chat with Abdul Razak Jima. So Abdul is on and getting ready. And before we get to him, we'll just take a brief session to get him ready. Okay. Welcome back, and we have our speaker Abdul ready to go live. Welcome, Abdul. Can you hear me?
Yeah, good morning, everyone.
Okay, good morning. I believe your video is on, but we can't see you.
Can you see me?
No, the screen is blank.
Wow, I can see myself here.
That's interesting. Okay, so I believe you are audible as well, so we could move on with that. I don't know if the audience can see me, maybe from my end, but welcome to this year's summit. This is the second edition of the Real Estate Future Summit. We're going to discuss financial options and looking at some options from mortgages to private equity. Okay. So have you start by introducing yourself and explain what your role is within this real estate industry in Ghana?
Okay, thank you very much, and good morning to everyone. Thank you to the Intim Group for this opportunity. So the name is Abdul Razak Jima. I'm the mortgage and manager at Fidelity Bank, and currently what we do is we help in supporting individuals and institutions to be able to acquire properties of their own that they can then use it to either use it as their primary residence or use it for investment purposes. So within the chain, we help people. Basically, we help to meet demand and also help suppliers to raise funds to be able to also meet the demand that is on the market. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for joining us today. To kickstart this discussion, we'll look at an overview of real estate financing. And if you could share an overview of the different real estate financing options that are available to us.
Okay, thank you. There are several financing options available for real estate. And what it is that there is the option of you using your own individual funds to be able to finance any real estate development that you want to undertake. So this could come from maybe savings that you have made over the years that you use in acquiring or financing any real estate development. Now, apart from that too, you can also rely on family and friends, funds from family and friends to help you to be able to finance any real estate projects or development that you want to undertake. Apart from family and friends too, we can also decide to move out and go into what we call a debt instrument. So debt instrument meaning an option can be taking a mortgage facility, for instance, to be able to finance a real estate development that you want to undertake. So in that case, basically, it's a facility that you are taking, and then the property or the real estate becomes the collateral for the facility that you are taking. Now, apart from the debt instrument, we could also go in for equity instruments. For example, you go in for maybe strategic investors who want to pull in resources together with you so that you'll be able to, undertake the real estate project or financing that you want to undertake. So those are the various options available to an individual who wants to, undertake some financing within the real estate market.
Okay, great. And how do some of these options compare with alternative methods such as private equity, and then also, particularly in terms of risk and return, how do these new options compare to the traditional financial options that we have, like mortgages? How do they compare with other alternative methods that you mentioned in terms of risk and return?
Okay. Thank you. So for mortgage, for instance, what happens is that basically you are taking the risk 100%. So you are coming in to the bank and then sourcing for funds from the bank. And then the bank gives you the funds to undertake the projects that you want to undertake. Now, if everything goes well, you get 100% of the return on that investment. The only risk you will have for mortgage is when you default in the loan repayment. Then that is when you say that the risk is crystallized on you as an individual, where the bank would then have to foreclose on the property that you have. But if not, what happens is that for mortgages, you enjoy your 100% return. And then if there is also the risk, you also enjoy the 100% risk. But for something like private equity, what happens is that there's a pool of resources between yourself and maybe a private investor or an institutional investor to be able to, acquire the real estate and property. Now, what happens is there is a shared return and a shared risk because they have an interest in the projects that you are undertaking. And so whatever return you get out of the real estate development, you have to share it with the other equity contributor. So it is either an individual equity contributor or an institutional equity contributor. Now, the same thing also applies to risk. The risk on this is that because both of you pool the resources to be able to acquire the real estate project, anything that will happen to that project, there is also a shared risk. So the group that have come together to get the financing for this project will then have to also share the risk that comes with it. So those are the two different dynamics. For mortgages, you enjoy your 100% and return. And also, if there is no risk of defaulting on the loan, then 100% return is yours. But however, if you default on the mortgage facility, then there is a 100% also rate coming to you. But if not, otherwise you would have enjoyed 100%. But for equity contribution or equity financing, basically there's a shared risk between you and the investor that is also bringing the resources together to pool and get the real estate investment or projects being undertaken. So that one, the risk and the return is shared.
Okay, Great. Thank you for that expose. And I know you are from the banking sector, and this question is quite popular. A lot of people want to know how accessible are mortgages for first-time home buyers and investors in today's markets, and what are the challenges associated with securing mortgages in Ghana?
Oh, mortgage financing. Ghana is a developing country. We have been, and the mortgage sector is actually developing very fast. Now, what it is that we have the mortgages widen, and now you have several of the banks offering this kind of facility. So, for any first-time buyer who wants the mortgage facility, what it is that the first and foremost thing is it is easy to get, but the challenges may mostly come maybe with qualification. So if you have an individual, what is very important for someone to get a mortgage facility is that you should be earning an income. So the income here could be that you are an employee who is being paid a salary, or you are a business owner who is running his own business and so makes income from the business. So that is to call self-employed. Now, with these two categories of people or individuals, you can take a mortgage from any other institution in Ghana. So it is very easy to access mortgage facility. Now, what it is that in accessing the mortgage facility, you should also be ready to make your equity contribution. Because for every facility, we want some commitment from the individual who wants to take the facility from the banks. So you have equity contributions ranging from sometimes 0 up to maybe 30%. Now, this is to afford the individual to show commitment to the property or the real estate asset that he or she wants to acquire. Now, you have to then make available that down payment that is needed. Now, there's a new innovation which we call the pension-backed mortgage, which is also being offered by Fidelity Bank. What it is that with pension-backed mortgage, the bank is saying if you are a contributor to SSNIT and you have your tier 2 and tier 3 contribution and you are in Ghana, you have the opportunity to be able to also pledge that contribution with the bank, and then the bank can give you 100% financing. And that is to say there is 0 deposit, okay, to take the mortgage facility. So you don't need to make any deposit at all. Now, mortgages also makes it available for the individual to have access to long-term funds that you wouldn't, on a normal basis, you wouldn't get. Okay, so you can take the mortgage for 10 years, for 15, for 20 years, and then be making payments on monthly basis. So it gives you the opportunity to be able to have that long-term funds to be able to also acquire or get your real estate asset. Now, the other advantage in that is that because the tenure of the facility is relatively longer compared to other facilities that have been offered by financial institutions, the repayments of the facility tend to be lower because of the tenure of the facility. And so it falls within a comfortable range that you are then able to make the repayment and support, at least be able to support the family also back home. So that is some of the advantages. Now, to even look at it, assessing mortgages has been open to every individual. So there's no discrimination. You can be a Ghanaian resident in Ghana. You can take a mortgage facility. You can be a Ghanaian that is not resident in Ghana but is non-resident outside of Ghana. You can also take a mortgage facility from, for instance, from Fidelity Bank. Now, with this mortgage facility, what is important is that the asset or the real estate and asset should be in Ghana. And that with that, we can then give you the mortgage facility by refinancing, for example, 80% of the selling price of the asset that you are going for, and you will have to make an equity contribution of 20%. Now, apart from resident Ghanaians and then those in the diaspora, if even you are a foreigner who is also living and working in Ghana with work permit, either you are married to or have a married to someone in Ghana or have a relationship in Ghana, you can also take a mortgage facility. And then it also affords you the opportunity to acquire your own dream home, to use it to achieve the things that you want to achieve. Through the mortgage facility, you are able to also basically enjoy some either value appreciation or capital gains. So for institutional investors or individual investors who want to invest in the real estate market, there is the opportunity then to be able to, through mortgages, acquire those assets. And if you want basically to enjoy current income, you can then rent it out and then be getting some rental income out of that property. And that rental income can be used to support in the mortgage repayment. Or you can decide that you want value appreciation. So you can hold on that asset for a certain number of years. And then in future, you can decide that you want to maybe dispose it off. By that time, the value of that asset would have appreciated, and then you enjoy the capital gain or value gain from the asset. Challenges for taking mortgages. I think one of the major challenge in Ghana is the high interest rates. Now, the interest rates in Ghana on mortgages relatively runs from somewhere around 20% to above. Okay, and so people find it difficult to be able to get a facility if the rate is higher, because the higher the rate, the lesser you are able to qualify for the loan facility that you wanted. So I'll say one major challenge is interest rates. The second challenge I will also say is the low income or earnings of individuals. Now, if you don't earn much, you are unable to take the facility because of another issue, which is what we call the prices of the properties in Ghana. So apart from the low income, you'd also have the challenges of the high price of properties in Ghana. Now, because the prices are very high for you to be able to acquire, now what happens is that if your income is low, you are not able to qualify for that amount that you wanted to be able to acquire the property. We are hoping that if we get a lot of the affordable housing developers coming into the market to help in offering affordable housing, it will really help. Even the definition of affordable, now we don't know that what is affordable. Is 500,000 Ghana cedi affordable? Is 1 million Ghana cedi affordable? And so it becomes very difficult, because the developer is also looking at the gains that he or she has to make, the profit after putting up the whole asset and getting it done. So apart from interest rates, low income or earnings of individuals, and then also the prices of the properties, the other critical challenge is what I call title perfection. A lot of people in Ghana who are real estate development, but they don't have title, and there are challenges with their title. Some even are living in properties or have acquired real estate in assets, but those assets have not been perfected, and they are just living in those assets and not being able to use it for any security and with the bank. So I say one of the challenges also the non-perfection of title, or some will say the difficulty in getting the land perfected in the name of the individual is one of the critical challenges. The final challenge I will also say is multiple registration. You see people having multiple conflicts during title perfection. So you will have people who have 2 or 3 people saying this particular land that they want to undertake for their real estate investment has been, we have multiple people claiming ownership of that land. So that is also one of the challenges. Now, when you have such difficulty, it becomes also difficult for us within the financial market to be able to offer you a mortgage facility, because with multiple challenges on land, we will not be able to grant you the facility as you desire. So I'll say these are some of the few challenges that we have within the mortgage industry.
Great. That's quite comprehensive. And I do have a follow-up question to that. Whilst you're going on, they just popped up in terms of what then is private equity financing, and how does it differ from mortgage financing?
Okay. No, so as I said earlier, private equity financing, you are looking at either an individual investor or institutional investor also coming in together with you to pool resources. So for instance, if you are an individual investor and I want to undertake some real estate and investment, and I don't have the funds to be able to undertake such a project, I can then come in for a private equity investor like you and say that, can we pool our resources to be able to, undertake this real estate investment that we want to undertake? So in that case, you have two individuals coming in and then pooling resources to undertake the projects that they want to do. And with such a project, what happens is that the two that have come would then have to share in the returns and also share in the risk. So whatever happens to the project, if the project is yielding some returns, which means between you and myself, we then have to share that return. And if also there is a risk that we are facing in that investment that we have undertaken, then the two of us have to share in that risk. Now, for mortgages, the financial institution does not share in your return, and the financial institution does not also share in your risk. So basically, the individual who is undertaking the financing, the real estate asset, is the one who is going to enjoy the full return on that investment. So basically, you come to the bank and the bank gives you a debt, which is what we call the mortgage facility, by financing, let's say 80%, 90% or 70% of the real estate asset for you. And then that asset then belongs to you. The asset is then registered and perfected in your name. The bank only holds on to the title of that asset, and that's for the duration that you are making the monthly repayment to the bank. Then after you finish paying the facility, the bank releases the document to you. Now, within that chain, if you continuously pay your monthly repayment, you enjoy the full benefits of the real estate asset. So whether that asset, you are renting it out, the rental income that will come out of that asset is 100% yours. So you enjoy that return on that asset. Or you decide that you want, maybe in 2-3 years time, you want to sell that real estate asset that you have, and for you to enjoy some capital gain or value appreciation. And then that appreciation or gain that you enjoy, it's 100% also goes to you. You don't have to share it with the bank. All that the bank needs from you is your monthly repayment to the bank. And that's all. The only risks that will then come will be if you default in repaying the facility. Now, when you default in repaying the facility, then we then have to initiate the process of foreclosure to be able to realize the funds that we gave you in acquiring that asset. So that one, to the risks, will be borne 100% by you. But for private equity, it's not so. Basically, the two of you have pooled resources. The two of you enjoy in the returns of that investment, and the two of you also enjoy in the risk. So for instance, if the two of you pool the resources and then you have gotten the real estate asset, and that asset is being rented out, what happens is that whatever rental income is earned will be shared between you and the partner that you came together to pool the resources with. So those are some of the major differences. Now, for example, mortgages too tend to be longer in tenor. So as I said, you have mortgages running from 10 years in Ghana, for 10 years up to, I think the maximum that you can do in Ghana is up to 25 years. But for example, for private equity, the maximum number of years you could do may be up to 10 years. So mortgage gives you a higher leverage and then a higher tenor for you to be able to, take the facility. But private equity, the funds are limited. or the duration is limited for you. So those are some of the few differences between mortgage and then private equity.
Okay. And so where does crowdfunding then fall into this into all this scenario? Because I believe crowdfunding has emerged as a financial option as well.
Where does
crowdfunding or
crowdfunding?
Yes.
Hello.
Yeah, crowdfunding or real investment, state investment trusts.
Okay. No, so what it is that if you are looking at crowdfunding, that also falls within a different category, but that I don't have a lot of knowledge in that area.
Okay, all right. And you mentioned interest rates as one of the challenges, but I want you to touch on some strategies that investors can use to mitigate the impact of these rising interest rates on their financing options.
Okay. No, I would say, so it's important as an investor to do a lot of shopping around. You see, what it is that you have a lot of financial institutions, but the rates being offered varies in all the various financial institutions. So it's important as an investor for you to take a step and go in for any of the financing options, especially for mortgages. I would say that it's important that you shop around to be able to get the best interest rate or prices that you can get. And I'll also say that don't only focus on the interest rate. It's important that you focus also on what we call the annual percentage rate, the APR. The APR actually is the total cost of the facility that you are taking. Interest rate is just one of the factors in determining the cost of the facility. But the annual percentage rate, which is the APR, actually gives you the total cost of the facility that you are taking. So for example, you can go to a financial institution and the interest rate on that facility is, let's say, 20%. And then they can also tell you that with this facility you are taking, you'll be expected to pay an annual account maintenance fee of 1%. Now, what happens is that effectively, the facility that you are taking has an interest rate of 21%. Okay, so that is the APR. Interest rate actually was showing 20%, but the APR that you are having will be 21%. Now, you can go to another financial institution and they will tell you that the interest rate that they have on the facility is 20.5%. Now, this one on interest rate is higher than the first bank that you went. But this second bank is saying that we don't charge any annual rate or annual account maintenance rate. So in that case, effectively, the APR on this facility or total cost of taking the mortgage facility would have been 20.5%. So you can see that even though the first one charged 20%, but the total cost of taking the facility is 21%. Now the total cost for the B option is 20.5%. So if you focus on only the interest rate, you'll be misled. So it's important that you look at the entire transaction cost for the facility that you want to go in for. So it's important you look at this too. Now, two, it's also important, apart from shopping around, to also find out the institution that can give you the best offer. Best offer here meaning that there are several options on the rates that you can take. Some institution will give you fixed rates for the facility that you are going for. Some will also try to give you a variable rates facility. And some will also give you a vanilla kind of facility where you have a mix of the two for the duration of the facility. So it's important you also understand the dynamics of those ones. And for this second point, you have to seek advice on how the economic outlook is like, so that it will help you to determine whether to go for a fixed rate loan, a variable rate loan, or a combination of the two, so that at least you have the opportunity to get the best of returns from the real estate investment that you want to undertake. So I will tell you that before you take the step of going to the financial institution and trying to do a lot of the bargaining with the financial institution, you have to do a lot of homeworks before you move out there, so that when you go out there, you also look at some of the things that you will get out of the businesses. Now, apart from these three, the third option I'll also tell you to look out for is also to look at the serviceability or the customer-centric nature of the bank or the financial institution that you are visiting. That will they, anytime that you need information, will you get it readily? Anytime that you need financial advice, are they available to give you that advice? Because it should all be part of the services that you are enjoying for taking the facility from the financial institution. So I also say that you should also look at that service, the other additional services that come out of the transaction that you want to undertake. Now, apart from these two, then you also look at on the interest rate, you also look at whether the rate being given to you, it gives you the opportunity to maybe come in for a top-up. Is it that you are going to lock you up for the entire duration of the loan, or there is opportunity for a top-up? Is there also an opportunity for you to be able to restructure and enjoy maybe a better rate in the future? It's important that you understand all these things within the clause. With some institution, you can go in initially and get the facility and get it at a particular rate. But anytime that you come for maybe a top-up or a restructure, the rate that you get might be higher. And some institution would have done a blended rate, which will be looking at the current rate that you are going for, and then the top-up using the current rate of the top-up facility to give you a blended rate. Others too would decide to give you the rate that is applicable at the time of taking the top-up facility. So it's important that you also understand these dynamics to help you in deciding on the best rate to go in for.
Okay, thank you so much for that as well. It's bring some clarity for that. And I just want us to discuss briefly the options available for developers, because I believe they operate on a different financing level than, say, individuals or even for private equity. So what financial options are available for, or what do developers typically go for when financing large-scale real estate projects, and which models have proven effective for them?
Okay. So for developers, what it is that depending on your capacity, there are various options that is available, and also depending on your experience within the industry, you are also able to take some facilities from financial institutions. So for instance, similar to individual mortgages, for developers too, you have the first and foremost option will be your own individual funds. So the individual funds that you have, because with that funds, there's no interest on it, and it is your funds that you are then investing into the developments that you want to undertake. So I'll say that for any developer who wants to, expand his real estate development, the best option first is to fall on your individual income or your savings. So any savings that you put together, you should use that savings to be able to begin the development that you want to undertake. Because with that, whatever you get out of the investment, 100% comes to you, and you don't need to share part of those funds with anyone. Okay. Now, apart from using your own funds or savings, the second option will be that you also fall on family and friends, or people that you truly trust, that will want to support you to get your dream come to light, especially people who believe in your dreams and believe that it's something that they will also want to be part of the success story of the dream that you are undertaking. So with such a developer, you can also fall on people that you trust. For example, your very close family, friends, and your relatives, your spouse, and sometimes even friends who then want to also be part of the success story, so that they can also grant you some funds so that you can be able to undertake the development. The third option is now you moving out, because if now you don't have the funds at all and you don't have anyone to assist or to support you to be able to undertake the development that you want to do, then you now want to go out because it's a dream that you want to fulfill. And this dream cannot be fulfilled without funds or without financing, and you don't have the means to get it done. Then you have to go into an arrangement with also a financial institution. So you come to, let's say, for instance, Fidelity Bank. And Fidelity Bank, there are several options. You can come and say you want to do a mortgage financing. That is also available, where the bank can give you a facility for you to develop the properties that you are bringing in. And then the bank on the second end can then grant mortgages to individuals to be able to buy the development from you. So that option is there. Now, apart from that option, there's also a second leg of that option, which is where you can also go in for what we call the upsale. So where in the course of developing the property, you have people showing interest in it. And so you are able to get, payment, initial payment or payment arrangement with those that are interested in getting the real estate assets that you want to come up with. So those people will do some contributions, and that you then use it as mobilization to begin the development. And then in the course of it, you can then take a mortgage facility to maybe complete those assets and then pay off the bank to get it done. The other option too is that for the same mortgage facility, you as a developer can come to the bank and with maybe some customers that you have that have shown interest in the development that you want to undertake, so that the bank can then assess those individuals to see if they will qualify for the mortgage facility. And if they will do, you can then use the facility letter for those individuals to secure funding from the same bank. So in that case, basically, you are using the facility letters that have been approved for the individuals to be able to now source for funds from the bank. So the bank knows that if we give you the funds to complete the property will be completed for our client, which is client A, to acquire that property. And we've already approved for client A, maybe $100,000. So in so doing, we will give you maybe $70,000 out of the $100,000 to get it done. And then when you are done, we then grant you the 100%. So the 100% will be paid to you, but we will then have to take our $70,000 that we gave to you, and then you will get your profit of the $30,000. So that option is also available for developers who want to take a mortgage facility. Now, apart from mortgages, you can also go in for what I call project management or project or construction loans. So construction loans is where you come to the bank, and then the bank will assess and look at the feasibility of the projects that you want to undertake, especially if it's a large scale. And then the bank wants to give you a facility to undertake the construction of that facility, and the developer solely take up the risks of paying of that facility. And so the bank will give you the facility to undertake the construction from scratch and up to the time that you complete it. And then when you complete, some of the structures that they will do is that during the construction phase, you can be given a payment moratorium, where within that period, you will not be paying any monthly repayment, either interest or principal, but you start making the payment upon completion of those properties that you have done, and then you start making the monthly repayments for that facility. That is also available. So you can go for construction and financing, you can go for mortgages, you can go to family and friends to support you. You can also use your own individual savings to be able to also achieve your dream that you desire.
All right. Thank you so much for your time today. But finally, before you leave, I want you to give a piece of advice when it comes to financing to, firstly, first-time home buyers, new investors, and then also new developers. What piece of advice will you give to them when it comes to financing options?
Okay. I would say that even before you move to financing options, it is important that to invest in real estate, it's important that you do your due diligence. Very, very important. Whether you're a developer, whether you're an individual, whether you're an institutional investor, it's important that you undertake your due diligence on the land that you want to invest in, because whatever investment you are going to put on that land it should be an investment that at the end you will get a return out of it. And in this dispensation where there are a lot of fraudulent transactions, especially in land sale, it's important that you undertake that due diligence to be able to ascertain that whatever you are doing is the right step that you are taking. And don't also solely rely on lands commission searches. Lands commission searches will not give you the 100% due diligence that you want to undertake. When you conduct the search comes in a particular name. Let's say the search comes in Abdul Razak. How do you be able to identify who that Abdul Razak is for you to know that he's the true owner of the land? So it's important that apart from doing the searches too, also go into the community, the place that you want, the location of the land that you want to develop. Find out from the people, find out from the neighborhood, from the adjoining houses or properties, who the owner of that land is, so that at least you are also able to get yourself covered up, and they are able to give you information so that when you take the needed step, you will not come later on and you'll be told that that land belongs to someone who is maybe living even outside of the country, and that the person who sold it to you was a caretaker of that land. So I would say the first and initial step is do your own due diligence on the land that you want to invest in. Now, for financing options, as I said, it's important that you also do a lot of your research on the various financial institutions that are available to understand clearly the ones that will give you the best of returns. The best of return is that you are looking at one where the cost of the transaction that you are going to undertake is going to be, it should be lower, or you are taking the one with the least cost of transaction, so that you can also enjoy the best of returns on the investments that you want to undertake in the real estate sector. So it's important that you get that advice. And two, before even you move to the financial institution, also seek for financial advice before you also come to the financial institution, so that at least you are clear on the steps that you are taking. And when you come to the financial institution, let them open up and for you to understand the total cost of transaction. Don't concentrate on interest rates. If you concentrate on interest rates, you'll be losing at a certain place where the cost of transaction is higher than you thought, but you were only looking at the interest rates. But cost of transaction of the facility goes beyond the interest rate. It's for you to look at the interest rate, is for you to look at, is there any account maintenance fee that I need to pay? Is there any monitoring fee that I need to pay? How much am I paying on, let's say, processing fee? How much am I paying on facility fee? It's important that you understand all these fees that are related to it. So you should know the total fees for the transaction that you are undertaking. Now, apart from this, also look at the other services that you are going to enjoy from the bank. So, for example, is the bank going to, undertake some due diligence for you? So, for example, in Fidelity Bank, when you come, we will undertake the searches for you. We have our legal team that will also give us legal opinion, and it helps you to understand. Sometimes some of the areas might demand consent to assign and consent to mortgage, and you might not know. But when you come through the financial institution like Fidelity Bank, we are able to identify those areas and even facilitate that for you and get it done for you. Now, apart from that one too, you also have to look at it if the financial institution will also take the next step of maybe doing valuation and also giving you an expert advice on the value of the property. Or also the third one is looking at it if it's something that the institution will also assist you in the perfection of the title. With financial institutions, what it is that we can use the position that we hold to be able to help in fast tracking the perfection of the title for you. So does the financial institution that you are going in for the mortgage facility able and willing to do that for you, so that at least you don't need to go through a third party where you don't even know whether the things that they are doing to get you the title they are doing it or going through the right processes or the right ways. So it's important that you also look at it if a financial institution will assist you in that, and that they will not collect just your land document and keep it in a safe. And then when you are done paying their loan, they take that document and give it to you back, and that document is not perfected. And it's one of the things that you also, I would say that you should look at. You should look at for. So just to end, I would say that if you have any request, any support, and any assistance that you need, and for financing, and you can come to Fidelity Bank. And currently, we are doing mortgages at a rate for CD1 at a rate below 20%, and we can give you a mortgage for that. And the maximum tenor is up to 20 years. So you have a 20-year maximum tenor. And also, we have a flexible repayment arrangement that we can arrange with you for you to be able to, structure the facility to be able to suit your pocket and help you in achieving the things that we want to achieve. So always we are available, and contact Fidelity Bank, and then, or you can also call me on 0243 059407, and then we can help to achieve the things that you want to achieve. And let me also end by saying that for the past 2 years, Fidelity Bank was awarded this year the best up-and-coming mortgage financing bank in Ghana. So you should be rest assured that when you are with Fidelity, you are in capable hands. And last year, we also received the award for being the most flexible mortgage financing bank in Ghana. So those are some of the things that we do. We have a stress-free processes, the TAT for all the facilities that we have in us. When you put in the application, we have a shorter TAT in meeting your request. The moment you complete and the application form and submit the requirements, the process of getting the approval, we have 5 working days and we'll get it approved for you. And then when we give you the facility offer letter with the conditions to complete. When you are also able to complete and submit all the requirements, we have another 5 working days to get it disbursed for you. So on our side, we have 10 working days to get it to be done. The other bits will then be on the side of the customer. So it's important as an individual who also wants financing options to consider the TAT in assessing the facility that you want to undertake. And I can assure you, with Fidelity Bank, you will enjoy a stress-free process where we have a dedicated relationship officers at the back end that will assist you in the entire process of the facility. That will help you, whatever the stages are. They will also guide you in all the stages. So it's one of the things that I would say you should also look out for. And anytime that you need support, you can always call on us in any of our branches. And you can also visit us on our website. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much, Abdulrazak. It's been an amazing session. A lot to take away from that. Before you go, just if you could mention your number again. I believe people want to didn't quite catch that the first time.
Thank you very much. So the contact number is 0243 05 9407. 0243 05 9407. If you are calling from outside of Ghana, you can prefix it with +233, and then it will come to me. And apart from that too, if you want to engage with any of our branches and the standby relationship officers too that we have, you can also call us on 0800 003355. 0800 003355, and then you have a team to support you. On email too, you can also email us at mortgagesales@myfidelitybank.net. mortgagesales@myfidelitybank.net. Mortgage sales, one word, @myfidelitybank.net, and then we are available to assist you. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you so much, Abdulrazak Chima, for your time with us today. It was always a pleasure having you on, and congratulations on your feat at Fidelity. I'll now hand over to me to come on and introduce the next session. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Daniel and Abdul. That was a great session. So now we move on to the next panel, which is the panel two, and the speakers are Priscilla, Natasha, Edward, and Benya Rollins. I guess they are all ready at this point, so we'll bring them on. I don't know them. Okay, you're welcome. At this moment, I'll leave the stage for you all to have a great time.
Okay. Hello, good morning to everybody. Such an honor to be part of this session. And my name is Priscilla. I will be moderating the session. So for this particular session, we are looking at navigating real estate market shifts, how brokers and agents can thrive in volatile markets. I'll briefly introduce myself and then I'll leave all the other three speakers to also introduce themselves and then we set the ball rolling. So my name is Priscilla Boaji Kuchinya. I'm a staff of the Property Data Bank under the Jospon group of companies. I'm a land economist by profession and a sales and brokerage officer here. So let me take the brief introduction of each speaker and then we can set the ball rolling. So I'd like to start with Natasha. Please do me the honors.
Hello, Lady Priscilla. How are you today?
Fine, thank you.
Very well. Well, first, I just want to say thank you so much for having me on this panel. I look and I see my colleagues, and I'm extremely excited. Some of you I haven't seen in a while, so I'm happy to see you all. My name is Natasha. I am the CEO and founder of Aquia Properties Ghana. We are one of the leading real estate agencies in Ghana. We specialize in providing all housing needs, all housing services, representing developers, buyers, sellers, investors, as well as going on commercial investment tours. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, Natasha, and it's such an honor to have you on the panel this morning. I'd like to move to my second speaker, and that's Edward Aqua. Could you do me the honors, please?
Wonderful. Good morning to everyone on the call. It's a pleasure to be with you. My name is Eddie Aqua, CEO and founder of Eddie Aqua Properties. I'm also a property broker, and I also do what I call property advisory and consulting. What we do is that we created a niche market for ourselves over the last 8 years. We focus on only prime Accra real estate, so that goes across cantonments, Labone Airport, Chado, East Airport, Roma Regional 3, amongst others. And we've been able to build a lot of relationships with landlords and property owners in these areas. We help people to invest in residential real estate. We also do commercial leasing. We also do property management. We do a bit of construction and advisory services. So anything prime Accra, Eddie Aqua Properties is your guy. Thank you.
Okay, so it means that you'll be doing the high-end properties, and we're also going to take your view on the subject matter. It's good to have you on the panel. My last speaker is Benaya Rollins. Do me the honors, sir.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. Hi, Natasha. Hi, Edward. Hi, nice to see you all again. My name is Benaya Rollins. I work as a real estate consultant, and I am also the CEO of Z Homes. We primarily help with consultancy, housing consultancy services, and also engage in sales of properties and property rentals as well. Another primary thing we do is to help developers and private homeowners to manage their properties and help them make more money with their properties. So that's just basically what we do. And yeah, I'm excited to have this conversation.
We are excited to have you also. And I want to say a very big thank you to the Intim Group and then the Ghana Tech Summit for giving us such a platform to deliberate on issues regarding the Ghana real estate. So, to set the ball rolling, our topic for today is navigating real estate market shifts, how brokers and agents can thrive in volatile markets. And for the purposes of our discussion, because we are in Ghana, we'll be focusing more on Ghana. But notwithstanding, if we have other examples we can relate with, you can always mention other things that are happening in other real estate markets outside Ghana. So, our first question to talk about recognizing market shifts, and the question is, how can brokers and agents identify the early signs of a market shift, and what recent trends should they be aware of to stay ahead? So, in no particular order, anyone can set the ball rolling and then we begin our discussions, please. Okay, Natasha, you want to set the ball rolling?
Thank you so much, Lady Priscilla. I guess I'm going to represent for all the women in real estate today, right?
Yeah,
All
women
right,
in
very good,
real
very good,
estate.
very good, very good. So, I love this question, right? Because when people hear the word volatile, they get nervous, that they're wondering what's going on, how can I stay ahead, how can I stay abreast? But what I learned from being an international real estate professional, because not only do I sell real estate in Ghana, but I also sell real estate in the US, right? Is a volatile market is a good market for many ways. You have to find the sweet spots and the pockets to be able to assist your buyer or seller um, in this market. So volatile, what it means to me is just markets that are shifting, right? And as a real estate advisor, you need to be knowledgeable about what areas work and what areas are going to perform for your client, right? So when it comes to volatile, all I can advise is realtors should not be afraid, should not be scared about it. They should be willing to accept it and step into it and just pay attention. I think that, what was the question again? I'm sorry.
So this is the question. It says that we recognizing the market shifts in the real estate industry in Ghana. And so we are asking that how can brokers and agents identify the early signs of market shifts, and what recent trends should they be aware of to stay ahead? So the focus is looking at how you can identify early signs of a market shift, because we don't want to be taken by surprise.
Well, what you should look at when it comes to market shifts in Ghana, because Ghana does not have, at the moment right now, the technology that other countries do have, is look at the demand from the client. The client is going to tell you exactly how the market is going to be shifting. If your clients are coming in from international or even that live here in Ghana, and they're telling you you're looking for a property that is in the outskirts, that means that their affordability or their capital or their price and demand has shifted and changed, right? So I think it really has to do with paying attention to your buyer, right? Secondly, I would pay attention to where the developers are wanting to build. Thirdly, I would say pay attention to government policies and structures, but ultimately I would start with the buyer. Because of the system and the ways that we have technology here in Ghana, I would start with the buyer.
All right, thank you very much. Anyone with another opinion? It could be
Okay,
divergent.
great. So I'm going to come in and highlight what sort of trends are in our property market right now, and what brokers or agents should be focusing on. First things first, we live in a technology world. So if you're not aware of that, then clearly you will be left behind. So tech simply means that people are finding more creative ways to get real estate deals done. Example, Natasha Benaya would attest to the fact that you can close real estate transactions without meeting the client to sign a document in person. So we are seeing people sign leases, we're seeing people sign tenancy agreements, we're seeing people sign sale and purchase agreements electronically. We're seeing virtual tours, right? People are doing things from their phones. So it's a case of, if this is where the market is getting to, then I, as a property broker or agent, I have to stay ahead of the game. What do I need to do? I need to adjust. I need to, create systems within my company that can take up this trend, so that when clients come and say, okay, I'm in the US, but you can send me the document, my lawyer will have a look at it and sign, you're not now found wanting. So I guess all real estate professionals who are on top of their game will have e-signatures, will have e-witnesses, things like that. That's one. Now, number two, one thing I've seen in our market now is that there's so much demand for what I call gated communities or self-compound houses. A lot of Ghanaians like this self-compound word. I want my own compound. So if you're a developer trying to, build something, it's more or less like Natasha said, listening to what the demand is and trying to, give them what they want. There's a lot of demand for 3 and 4 bedroom self-compound houses. Most of the buyers are first-time buyers. They've got, families. They've got 1, 2, 3 children. So then you've got to design to be able to suit what the demand is, so that when you are looking for buyers, you are not found wanting, or your property doesn't stay on the market for a long time. Another thing I've seen is that, I'm sure you can see, there's a lot of what we call FDIs, foreign direct investment. It's a trend in the market now. A lot of the money in prime Accra real estate, which is where I champion, is pretty much diaspora money. So what do I have to do? As a broker or agent, I have to find a way to get to the diaspora. So personally, I'm a member of what we call the National Association of Realtors, which is based in the USA. I'm also a member of, the GREPA and GAREP. So these are associations that when you align with, they're able to connect you to the diaspora. Okay, so it's simple. Once you get access to the clients you're looking for, all you have to do is add your professional touch and you can do business. Now, I've sold properties in Accra, and some of these buyers have not necessarily seen the property physically, but the deal is closed. Then the last one I'm going to talk about is the fact that a lot of people also want sustainable and eco-friendly homes. We're seeing this demand for, high ceilings, big windows, green, technology in there. There's even people that want houses with a lot of, what we call home automation. Somebody wants to be able to get out of his house, command the house and say, hey, Alexa, turn my house off, and every light goes off. So those are trends that are happening in the market right now. So any professional in the market, it's not even just brokers and agents. It goes for interior designers, it goes for developers, it goes for people that even do, property management. You must be aware of what's happening so that you can adjust and not get left behind. Thank you.
Amazing presentation, and I love that. So from what we have had so far, we mentioned that there are economic shifts as time goes on, technological advancements, and also changing human behavior. Gone were the days where you used to finish building properties before people actually buy. But now things are changing, and Ghanaians used to be conservative, but now people are evolving and embracing dynamism. And so now people have some sort of trust in the system. And the reason why off-plan selling is also on the rise now. So I agree with both submissions that you need to be dynamic and then embrace changing trends so that you can meet your clients. And as a real estate broker, you need to always stay on top of your game. About 2 weeks ago, the Property Expo was launched at the Marriott Hotel, and you could see that a lot of things are changing. So, like my brother was saying, if you are in the industry and you do not belong to any professional body, you will be doing things in your own corner whilst the industry is just moving, and you will not be well updated. So it is a necessity for every real estate broker, in as much as you want to be on top of the game and know what is happening, the new technological advancements in real estate. It is also a necessity for you to join a professional body so that together we can build the industry. Thank you so much for your time. For the first question, I will move to the next question, and I think to help us all do easy presentation, I'm going to post the question in the chat box so that we can all look at it and then deliberate. So our second question is adapting to volatility. And I think Natasha mentioned that sometimes there are fluctuations in the market. It's not smooth all year round. I think when the year of return came, real estate surged and all that, but it is not smooth all year round. There are particular times in the year where we have a lot of diasporans coming into the country, and there are some particular real estate assets where we have high demand for them, like the shortlet and all that. So we want to look at adapting to volatility when the market is just undulating, going down and coming up. As a real estate agent, how do you adapt to volatility in the market? And we are asking that what are the practical strategies that brokers and agents can implement to remain competitive and thrive during periods of especially market uncertainty or economic downturn? So we all know that when we hear the word economic, it means that the invisible hands of demand and supply comes into play. So as an agent in the middle, being a mechanism to link both demand and supply so that you could come to an equilibrium, what are some of the practical strategies that we can implement in order to remain competitive in the game? I'm not seeing one of my speakers. I don't know what is happening. But for those of us here, we could set the ball rolling. So anyone can set the ball rolling.
All right, Natasha, I know you want to speak. I'll come in once you're done.
All right, thank you so much, brother. I really appreciate it. Again, Lady Priscilla, thank you. So when it comes to making sure that you stay competitive in the market, me personally, what I focus on with my company, Aquia Properties, is honestly not being competitive. Just my whole mantra is, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. Right. And I think it boils down with the structure and foundation of the company and systems you have in place. Because like with any industry in the world, things are going to change. In the restaurant industry during the holiday season or during holidays overall is really busy. But what do you do in those slow markets and those slow months? You adjust, right? It's not something to be scared about or nervous about. You just simply adjust as part of doing business. And what I found in Ghana is that you have your hot spots and you have your cold spots. And during our cold spots, as a leader and founder of a company here in Ghana, we have staff meetings. We have meetings where I'm doing ongoing training on how to teach my team members on how to adjust and work with buyers who are not hot, ready to buy right now, but who are going to be looking in the future, right? I'm also looking for, properties that are going to be hitting the market pretty soon. I'm also training my staff that if you look good, you feel good, you don't have to be ready. You're already ready, right? So I think what it boils down to is just being prepared and staying focused. When the market does shift, okay, so we need to sit down and strategize. How are we going to make our prices still attractive and still competitive, but also get the high returns from our clientele, right? So I think it really just depends on strategizing and keeping your client, your team informed and trained on what systems work best during those times.
Exactly. Before I entered the industry, I used to wonder why the same hotel room in a particular time of the year will cost X amount, and that same hotel room after a couple of weeks you come back and it's costing a different amount. But I think I perfectly agree with you, Natasha, that in order for you to stay in the game and to have some practical strategies to remain competitive, you need to look at your pricing at what time of the year, looking at how demand is going, what the market is giving, so you can remain competitive. And I think I agree with that. Can I hear from you, Rollins? I think you went off for a moment, but I'm glad to have you back.
Yes, thanks. Yeah, I just had a network glitch. So are we still on the adapting to volatility? Okay. I think I pretty much agree with what Natasha said. For me, it's what I call service orientation. That's how that's one of the ways you can be competitive. And I don't know if you are noticing, it's one of the trends right now in the hospitality industry. It's what service do you render as opposed to what price you attach to a certain commodity. And I think that's one of the best ways that anyone can get competitive, because I mean, Eddie works with a lot of international folks, and you know that these guys would want to pay for something that is worth money. And if you have that, and if you can show them that, okay, I'm willing to provide you not just helping you to buy a home, but I'm also willing to help you out with the necessary things that you need, even help you furnish your home, to providing you with some basic value-added services. I mean, you win. That's pretty much how it is right now. So, who has the best service and who is willing to render the best service? That's how you win in this type of market. And I've seen transactions where I have personally done transactions that I thought that particular individual wouldn't be able to pay a certain amount of money that we wanted. But because of what we were willing to do, with the value added services and how we carried the service, it was willing to go it was twice our commissions. You can imagine that. So I think right now for us brokers and agents, we just have to recognize that we should render a certain type of service that you can't find anywhere. I think that's how you stay competitive. Like Natasha says, always train yourself. How can you stay adaptable, and also having a thing for understanding trends, because when you know what trends in a particular period, then you can tailor that to what type of service, that to your clients. So it's service. Anyone who works with low speed knows that sort of service a lot. I'm more of a customer relationship person. Like I like to offer very
Okay.
good.
So that's like customer experience at its best.
Exactly. Whole phase of sales, phase of transaction. Customer experience is just it's top notch. It's very important. So if you want to win in this type of market, no matter the landscape, just have a good customer service. Just have a good client service. Yeah, that's how you stay adaptable.
Mm-hmm. And once your customer service is good, remember you always get good referrals. Thank you so much, Rollins. We are moving to our next question, and there's a
Wait, Priscilla,
saying that
can I add my voice?
sure you can, you can.
So I was enjoying what Natasha and Benaya was saying, and it brought me back to something that's very important. So there's a word in real estate that's important. It's called diversification, right? So I'll give you a typical case study, just so that the audience are well informed. When I got into this market about 8 years ago, I started with commercial property brokerage. Guess what happened? 2020, COVID came, and COVID woke me up, and COVID told me, Mr. Eddie Aqua, if you're still going to focus on office, you're out of business. What did I do? I realized that I had to diversify and also get into residential, because when office space was going down, residential was booming. All right. So I realized that where the world was going, I needed to add something else to my offerings. Then I started to do residential so that my company won't collapse or I won't go out of business, but then I could add another service to suit the times and seasons the market was in. You understand? So when office space picked up and I got back into doing office, I had also birthed another part of the business, which is important. Now, another thing I always talk about, and I'm sure Benaya and Natasha would have probably heard me say this, is the power of networking. No matter the economic downturn or uncertainty in any real estate market, if you're able to build strong relationships and network across board, you would still get your share of the cake. People say, oh, right now sales are slow. Sounds good, but people are buying. Oh, right now I'm not getting a lot of requests for rentals. Well, it's December, some agents are sold out. So it really comes back to the basics. Aside being professional and having a system and giving the best customer service, one of the most important things, and real estate agents have to get really good at it, is being a master networker. Because whether you like it or not, the only way you make money is through human beings, and human beings are people, and people means relationships. So if we can all understand the fact that networking, is the bedrock to our successes, then we're gonna get good at this job and obviously make the kind of revenue you want. So that's something I always say. Now, networking also comes with one more thing I always add, which is it's one thing to network, it's another thing to convert the network into business. So we have to get good at putting value on the table from day one, letting potential clients understand our systems, what products we have, what sort of negotiation, strategies we adopt to get them a good deal, so that instead of always sounding like my commission, you actually earn it through your professionalism. So that when it's time to get paid, trust me, when you do a good job, you don't have to keep talking about commission. They will tell you, Eddie or Natasha or Benaiah, send me your invoice. And that's how you know you've done a good job. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And that was amazing. So, one of the salient points of real estate, we always say that real estate is inelastic in the short run. And so, I agree with you. You need to network so that you can have properties on your fingertips just to serve a client, even if you, as an agent, directly do not have. And so, networking in this game is very, very important. As brokers and agents, we need to network in order to always stay competitive. Thank you so much for that point. And we are moving to the next. I think you went ahead of me and mentioned diversification, but let me just say that the only constant thing in life is change, is it? And so, in as much as you've mentioned, diversification of skills and services in volatile markets is also essential for agents to focus and niche on our specializations or expand our offerings. So, in as much as we are supposed to diversify, we want to ask a question that in volatile markets, should agents focus on niche specialization or expand their offerings? So we want to look at the two. You may be for, you may be against niche specialization, or you may be for expansion of offerings, or against, or maybe a blend of two. I think every opinion is appreciated in this. Anybody could set the ball.
Well, Lady Priscilla, oh, are we frozen?
We here.
Okay. I would love to answer this question for you, but I've been watching both my brothers on social media, and I want to start with Mr. Eddie to answer this question, because Eddie, I have to be honest. I was just having a staff meeting with my team, and I said, this question, you need to watch Eddie. So when it comes to specializing niches,
Yeah,
my brother Eddie,
you know, in his earlier submission, he actually introduced this particular diversifying skills and
yes,
service. I think you will
yes,
all agree with me. So
yes,
maybe we should leave it for Eddie to just conclude it nicely for us. So, Eddie,
yes.
what
I
do
would
you
I would like
think?
to follow after Eddie, because he's doing exceptional in this. And I'll just say this: in the real estate industry, because I'm an international realtor and I do business stateside as well, one thing is we love collaboration over competition. And anytime I see my brothers and sisters here in Ghana do amazing work, I'm going to commend you. I'm going to praise you. I'm going to highlight you. And so I love to see some of the things that I already know about in the States happen here in Ghana. And I think that both my brothers are doing exceptional when it comes to that. But my brother Eddie, I think, if I could give you an award virtually, I would. So would you please answer this question, my brother?
Okay, thank you, Natasha. I'm
You're
truly
welcome.
honored for the warm words. I appreciate it. But you said something that I love, and I've been true to that word from 8 years ago till now. Collaboration over competition. Because the truth is, you can't do it all on your own.
Right.
Natasha could have the buyer, I could have the property. What do? Collaborate, work together. The client is happy, brokers or agents are paid, the industry wins. So for me, it's back to the basics. Now, that's why when I meet a lot of brokers or agents who give me the first impression that sounds like greed, I'm gone. Because greed is not gonna take you far. You're gonna make money overnight, but you're not gonna make money over time. That means that your business will go down the drain. So when it comes to, the word you use, which is, are you creating a niche market for yourself, or are you just, I think it depends on the times and seasons, okay? Because I started commercial, I ended up, adding residential, and now I've added a bit of construction, okay? But what I have always said to myself is that no matter the diversification I do, I'm still going to stick to certain locations as a strategy. Accra is very big. We have a lot of infrastructure and transportation issues. I can't get caught trying to chase every property in Accra. I would burn out, I would collapse. What you can do as a broker is that if you understand the word collaboration, then you empower others who are stronger in certain locations. And when the deal comes for those locations, you collaborate and you all break bread. I'll give you a typical example. East Legon Hills, I've probably been there twice this year, but I've sold 4 properties there. Do you understand me? It is collaboration. I have people that are East Legon Hills champions. I have people that are Ajirigano champions. I've got colleagues that are East Legon only. That's all they do every day. So when a request comes in East Legon, I'm not going to be greedy and try and do all the work. I'll simply call broker A, broker B, broker C, put together the options, share with the client, and then whatever the viewing is, we do it together. Sometimes I don't even go for the viewings because it is teamwork that makes the dream work. My colleagues handle it. We've created a system of reporting. We've created a system of emails. We've created a system of feedback. When the deal is paid, I don't need to go chase my money. I have what I call co-breaker or co-agent agreement, which all the brokers I work with have already signed. So I have no business chasing you for commission. You know the deal. I just have to submit my invoice. I get paid. So if we can have this system working, trust me when I say this, a chain of 10 agents on a deal will be cut short. So for me, I have that policy. Once I smell 2, 3, 4, 5, I mean, not even 2, maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 agents on a transaction, I'm gone because it's a complete waste of my time. By the time you get to the owner of the property, the client is gone because you tend to go through some people that are not part of your collaboration team. You are not used to how they do business, and they just mess up everything. Now, I'll give you one example and I jump off so others can speak. There was a property we were trying to rent in Airport residential area. The broker I collaborated with also led me to another agent who was in charge of that property. No problem. I said, okay, let's work on this together. Do I take the lead on emails or you will? The guy said, oh, I've been doing this for 20 years, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, no problem. Send me a copy of the draft tenancy agreement so I share with the client. And guess what? The tenancy agreement was 1 page, 4 boxes, 20 lines. I said, what is this? There are no clauses. Is this a joke? So these are some of the issues in our industry. And that's why if you understand the importance of, the balance between creating a niche market, but also having that collaboration element, then you can win. And then you don't have to actually do all the work every day, but you can have other people empowered, and then together you win. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just to touch up on something that you mentioned, I have also encountered agents who feel they are more powerful because they are the ones bringing the clients. But trust me, if I do not offer the property, how will the clients be served? And I personally think it's something that has to do with Ghana because anyone wakes up and calls himself a realtor, a broker. And I don't know how far with our institutional frameworks, which will be our last topic for discussion. But I think that when you go outside there, like in the US, Singapore and all that, you can't just get up and say you are selling properties, you're a broker and all that. So institutional framework, government needs to look at it. You want to be a broker, you need to go through some form of training, just like what the Ghana Institution of Surveyors is doing. And I think now we have Brokers Association or Ghana Institution for Realtors. So I think people who just wake up and call themselves realtors and they really don't understand the economic aspect and the legal aspect tend to do anything and just sometimes mess up the whole industry. I think we will look at it in our final discussion. But thank you so much, Eddie, for that brilliant submission. Please, anyone has anything to say, Rollins?
May I come in for a second?
Yeah, Natasha.
You know, I hate to say, what I train my team on, and it really, because Ghana's still a growing and emerging real estate market, is I train my team on is the fact that all of these best practices, it really starts with the professional, right? When you're getting the seller to list their home, right? And they're speaking to you about their home is going to be $1.4 million. And you as a real estate professional know that the home is not going for that price. That's going to impact the transaction, right? When you're bringing a buyer to purchase the home, making sure that the buyer is qualified to even be able to purchase that home so you're not wasting your time. When it comes to 2, 3, or 4 agents on a deal, my team, they know right away. If it's more than 2 agents on a deal, unfortunately, we're not able to work with them because, as Mr. Eddie mentioned earlier, it becomes a catastrophe. And a lot of times, because you can one day be a trotro driver here in Ghana and the next day be a real estate professional, it just creates chaos on both sides of the spectrum when it comes to the sale. So I really think that the standard, it starts with us real estate professionals and the ones that hold ourselves to a high regard and have a little touch of international best practices, being a part of international associations or just doing business international. It starts with us. So I tell my team also, every client that comes or calls or walks in Akuya's office is not going to be our client. And the reason being is because right away, we let them know our best practices, our structure. We do what's called an onboarding process for all of our clients, buyers, sellers, investors, and renters. And a lot of times they don't want to sign documentation because of how they're used to doing things. But I think when we streamline the processes, put our best practices out in the forefront, letting them know, hey, this is what our expectations are because we're the professional, we're your advisors here to help you. It creates for a better outcome and experience for all parties involved.
Excellent. Benaya, I must mention that I can see Isaac Juma Opoku, Isaac of Orient Property Consultant. You're very much welcome, and it's good to have you here. Benaya, would you like to say something in relation to what we're discussing before we move to the next?
I think you might be having internet.
I think, okay. A lot has been said concerning diversifying skills in volatile markets. And so even if you have a niche specialization, either in commercial, residential, or specific to some locations, networking can always help you so you can serve a client anytime there is a request by collaborating with other real estate agents or brokers. I think I will continue. If he joins, then we can have his view. So we're looking at the policy framework, policy and regulatory impacts on the real estate market. And we are asking that how can government policies, and regulatory changes influence market conditions? And what should brokers and agents do to stay informed and compliant? So, in as much as the invisible hands of demand and supply determines how a sale should go, we also know that there are institutional frameworks and there are some policies and laws that, as agents and brokers, we need to be guided by. So, we are asking that how can government policies and regulatory changes influence the market conditions, and what should brokers and agents do to stay informed? Anybody can set the ball.
Okay, I guess I'll go first. It's It's just Eddie and I.
Yeah, Natasha, women empowerment.
Well, my brother Eddie mentioned a couple things earlier when it comes to this question, and a lot of it has to do with attaching yourself with some sort of international aspect touch, or even locally when it comes to like the Ghana Real Estate Brokers Association or the National Association of Realtors. I know Ghana is working really diligently to create that foundation and that structure that us real estate professionals here need to be able to create transparency and trust when it comes to transactions. But because we're not just there just yet, again, it allows for associations for us to lean on. So government getting involved, I know many of us do not want to. No one wants government to be in our business. Hey, not even in the States, okay? My pocket, there's my taxes. I don't like it, right?
So just to say this in passing, I got a landlord who was renting out his property, and I was trying to, according to the Rent Act, he's like, I bought my own cement, I bought my own. What has government got to do with my property? I decide what I want to do. So I think we're getting there. Natasha, please continue with your presentation.
No, I already know where the story is going, honestly, because I get it too when it's time to list their properties or list their homes. Who do you think you are? Who do you know? I bought this property. I built it, blah, 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 blah. That's all great. That's fine. But I'm sitting here in your living room, ma'am or sir, because you hired me. You saw something in me that you know that I can perform, right? So again, when it comes to this question, as much as individuals don't want government in their business, when with our new regime coming into place, I think it's very important.
Natasha seems to have some problems with her internet, but maybe we could continue once she joins us. We can. Our time is up, so we need to wrap up in the next couple of minutes. Eddie, would you want to touch on something before I do the final wrap up on the? Oh, Natasha, you back? Good to
Oh, that
have
was
you.
my internet. I'm sorry. I'm in
That's
Abuja.
okay.
Okay.
I can understand. Our time is up, so let's wrap up and then we can hand over to the panel.
Sure, please go ahead.
Natasha? Okay, she's back. Benaya, you welcome back as well. Natasha, would you want to continue what you were saying in your earlier submission?
Yes, sure.
I didn't get that, Benaya, but maybe Natasha should complete her submission and then Benaya can also say his final words because our time is up and I need to hand over to the panel shortly. Natasha?
Oh, I'm sorry. My internet was reconnected. I'm in Abuja now, so I'm used to Ghana. What was your question? I'm sorry.
So you were given an earlier submission on the policy and regulatory impact on real estate in Ghana. And I'm sure we had some internet problems. So you went off. Would you want to complete that submission, please? Okay. Natasha is not in Ghana with us, so she seems to have some internet connectivity problems. Benaya, I would like to take your final words because we are ending the session in a bit. I think you were off for some time, but we are looking at the policy and regulatory impact that influences market
Yes.
conditions. Would you want to say anything about that?
Okay. Yeah, for sure. It's so The genesis of my career began from what I put together and what I, trained myself with. I started off with learning how the real estate market works in the US. So pretty much what I know here and now, it's just what I've learned so far from watching and seeing top folks in the US.
Oh, oops. I think we still have some internet issues here.
Are you able to hear me? I know I was.
Yeah, I can hear you, Natasha.
Okay. Very good.
All right, Priscilla, I think we should do the wrap up.
Yeah.
And everyone speaks.
Yeah. So let me wrap up. It's been an amazing session, and I want to say a very big thank you to you all for such an opportunity, Natasha, Edward, and Benaya. Thank you so much. And special thanks to the Global Startup Ecosystem in Team Group and the Ghana Tech Summit for giving us such a platform to deliberate on issues regarding real estate and its related issues. I hope and I believe that we will meet again in the future. Do have a blessed day and God richly bless you.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you to the panel as well. I don't know if I'll just give the opportunity for Eddie to give any final thoughts before you have this panel.
No.
Oh, I mean, for me, my final words will always be the same things. I am big on not just winning alone, but winning together. Teamwork will make the dream work, but professionals also have to put in the work. Okay, so like I think Priscilla mentioned earlier, a lot of real estate agents and brokers should be aware that next year we're likely to have licenses. Okay, so the question is, are you going to earn a license or not? So let's start doing things the right way, because everybody talks about real estate and talks about, investment returns and, there's money to be made. But people also lose a lot of money when they come into contact with people that are not professional. People even, pose as agents or brokers and scam people. So for me, I want to see the industry grow. I believe there's potential, but the onus lies on us, real estate brokers and agents, to make a difference and to, go the extra mile to put a smile on our clients' faces. So together, let's build our industry. The industry is in our hands, and if we want to see it grow, we have a big part to play. So let's continue to collaborate, let's work together, and let's also invest in ourselves professionally, so that anyone that experiences any broker or agent in Ghana, they would say, okay, so, it gives the country a good name. So that's all I have to say. But thank you for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure. And it was nice hearing from Natasha and Benaya, my amazing colleagues. Keep up your amazing work. I salute you. Let's win together. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Priscilla, too, for moderating that panel for us. It was an amazing session. And I know there were a lot of internet issues, but we still got a lot of the discussion going. And thank you for sharing your thoughts with us as well. And we'll continue to engage you and then collaborate for any future project as well. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Priscilla, Eddie, Benaya, and Natasha for such an amazing panel. It was nice having you.
Excellent.
Amazing. So that was our second panel for the day, and we are thankful to all our speakers for such an amazing session as well. We'll now transition to the next panel. And for that panel, it's all about the law, right? We're going to have talk about the law covering property acquisition in Ghana. And I'll hand over to Ni to moderate that panel for us, our real estate expert as well. But before we do that, we'll get our speakers ready to come on and then share their thoughts on such interesting discussion as well. welcome back. So panel 3 is ready, and we'll have Ms. back with us too. Okay, that. So what's you need?
All right.
Okay, thank you very much, Daniel. And on my panel, we have Divine and Elizabeth. Okay, I think Divine is not on yet, so we kickstart. We're already behind time, but just kickstart with Elizabeth. Hi, Elizabeth. How are you doing?
Good afternoon. I'm fine. How are you doing?
Great. It's great to have you. It's great to have
Thank
you.
you. It's lovely to be here.
Sure. Well, I have had a conversation with you in the past on this same real estate panel, but then I'm sure there are other people who are on who might not know you. I'll be glad if you introduce yourself to tell us a bit about yourself and what you've been up to.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me to be on the panel today. So my name is Elizabeth Aishan. I'm a partner in Benziancho Lecture and Kuma. I lead the real estate and infrastructure practice area in the firm.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And moment. Yes, what it see. I think Divine is on.
Can you hear me okay? Because your network seems a bit patchy.
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Can you also hear me?
Okay. I can hear you a bit better now.
All right. So we dive in straight away. Since we'll be talking on the the law covering property acquisition in Ghana, I think the first question I'll ask you is, can you provide an overview on the current laws governing the properties acquisition in Ghana?
Sure. I mean, there are many laws that will impact somebody who wants to acquire property. But I would say that the main law, the primary law in Ghana that provides a legal framework for land administration is the Land Act, which came into force in 2020. And this essentially deals with all land administration, including different interests in land that somebody can acquire, and also how to register land in Ghana. So the Land Act 2020 is the primary law that deals with land administration in Ghana. And then there are other key laws that are important. So for example, I know we'll talk about this a bit later, but there are different interests in land. You can have government land, you can have family land, and you can have stool land. So if land is stool or skin land, then an important law that you need to consider is the Office of the Administrator of Stool Lands Act. Now that establishes the Office of the Administrator of Stool Lands, and they effectively manage stool land revenue and deal with mobilization and disbursement of that revenue. And they're essentially there to ensure and to facilitate sustainable development and efficient management of stool lands. So if anybody is buying land, which is stool land, so that's land that is held by a chief or a skin on behalf of a community, then it's important that you pay attention to that law. So that's the Office of the Administrator of Stool Lands Act. Now, those are the primary laws when you're dealing with acquisitions. But obviously, when you're dealing with acquisitions of law, you're going to need issues such as permitting and need to be conversant with building regulations. So you also have the Land Use and Spatial Planning Act and the Local Governance Act, and these are the primary laws that govern building and development. And so once you've acquired your land and perhaps you need to develop it, then you need to make sure that you comply with the requirements of these laws, because any development or any building works needs building and planning permits. So that is a relevant laws that deal with development and building. And then also, once you've bought your property, you need to stamp it at the Lands Commission. And so there is a Stamp Duty Act which regulates the payment of stamp duty on land documents. So you should be aware that when you're acquiring land, unless there are exemptions that will be applicable, you will be required to pay stamp duty, whether it's a lease that you obtained or it's an assignment of a property. You'll be required to pay stamp duty. There are many laws, but perhaps another one that I'll just touch on is the Real Estate Agency Act. That's a relatively new act, again, 2020, and that establishes the Real Estate Agency Council to regulate real estate agency practice in Ghana, which before this act wasn't regularized. So this is a very important act that's been brought into the sector. And there are other laws as well. You know, I don't think we need to delve into everything because we're particularly talking about property acquisition. But clearly, if you're building out on land, you need to make sure that, you know, there are no environmental issues. So you need to also consider the Environmental Protection Agency Act, which is also another important act to consider.
Okay, right. Thank you very much. My follow-up questions that have these laws evolved over time to address modern real estate challenges?
I would say that the Land Act is probably the key law that has sought to consolidate various laws into one legislation. And I think what it has done is it's also improved land administration in certain aspects. So, for example, it does outline the various interests in land, which is very important. So when you're acquiring land, at least you'll be able to get an interest in land and you'll know what type of interest is available to you. It also requires that land which is owned by stool or a skin or a family, they actually establish a customary land secretariat. Now, this is very important because the huge amount of land actually in Ghana is held by a stool or skin, or it's a clan or family. And most of the land is actually unregistered. And so what the Land Act chooses to implement, which is very important, is to establish a customary land secretariat with the help of the Lands Commission and the Office of Administrator of Store Lands Act. And the whole idea of a customary land secretariat is to allow for more transparency. And so for people who are acquiring land, the idea is that if the land, again, is held by either family or stool or skin, so that you can find documents relating to the land, who the necessary representatives are that you need to deal with. And so it just gives more transparency to dealing with acquisitions for those types of land. And the idea is that the Secretariat will run, in terms of dealing with recording customary interests and rights in land alongside the formal deeds and title registration at the Lands Commission. So that's a key measure that's been introduced in the Land Act. Also, the Land Act, I think, is seeking to introduce electronic e-conveyancing. And this is so important because, unfortunately, the land system in Ghana at the moment is not electronic. So the Lands Commission, which is the public constituted body to manage land in Ghana, their system is not electronic, it's a manual system. And so the process can take a long time when you want to, for example, undertake searches on property, or when you do buy property and you want to register, the process takes a long time. So the intention is for the Lands Commission to develop a land information system so that it will expedite processes at the Lands Commission. And that's very important. I mean, the Lands Commission has taken some strides. They have electronized some aspects of their work. So right now you're able to apply for searches online. You're able to kind of see where your search or your application for registration has reached, but you still need to follow up in person. They're also trying to make all of the deeds that they have internally, trying to upload them online to facilitate, a better land registration and an administration process. So that's something that's also very good, which the Land Act is trying to introduce. I think also what you also find is some of the issues that people have is with respect to land guards. And land guards are those people who do not have an interest in land, but perhaps they've been engaged by others to prevent those who have a genuine interest in land from developing their property. So the Land Act actually criminalizes the behavior of land guards. And so if you, as a person who has an interest in land, you have a genuine interest in land and you're being prevented from developing your land, you are able to seek redress, obtain an injunction, and bring action against those land guards for what they're doing in terms of preventing you from developing your land that you have a genuine interest in. So that's a very good step that the Land Act has introduced. So I would say that, as I said, the Land Act is the key law that has consolidated many aspects of land administration into one act.
Okay, that was great, and thank you very much. By you talking about the land, you've already made us known some of the types of land ownership in Ghana and how they affect property acquisition. But do you see any challenges? We know there are challenges around land. What are the challenges that exist with land title, and how can we resolve this as individuals who looking forward to acquire land in Ghana or something?
Sure. Just before I go into that, I will just set out, there are different types of interests in land. I would say the main ones are the allodial titles. So that's the highest or ultimate interest in land, and that's generally held by the state or a stool or skin or family. Then you have customary law freehold, which arises under customary law. You also have common law freehold, again, that arises under common law. And I would say the main and the most popular interest that you'll probably acquire in Ghana is a freehold or a leasehold interest in land. And leasehold, a lease that is more than 3 years can be registered at the Lands Commission. And in terms of a freehold, there are some restrictions. So a non-Ghanaian cannot obtain a freehold land. And also, in terms of a leasehold interest, a non-Ghanaian cannot have a leasehold interest of more than 50 years at any one time. It's important that I just make that known. So if you're a non-Ghanaian, you can only have a leasehold interest of not more than 50 years. It's, of course, subject to renewal and negotiation, but that's the maximum interest that a non-Ghanaian can have. And if it's a company that's acquiring land, if the company has shareholding of more than 40%, then that company is considered a non-Ghanaian. Okay, back to your question. So some of the challenges that exist in terms of land title registration, I've kind of touched on it. So customary land tenure, there's a lot of land which is held by stool or skin or family land, and the land hasn't been registered. And so what you find is that a lot of purchasers who are interested in land, they're unable to do thorough due diligence if they don't instruct lawyers, because you will not find details of the property if it hasn't been registered at the Lands Commission. So what we realize is that a lot of land is unregistered. Now, depending where the land is located, you have registration districts and non-registration districts. So if the land that you're intending to buy is in Accra or Tema, Kumasi, certain parts of Winneba, those areas are land registration districts, and land should be registered in those areas. However, generally speaking, what we find is government land, generally most secure land. So if you want to acquire land, government land is the most secure to buy. However, the most land that is available is land that is, again, held by stool, skins, or family land. So the issue that we have is that a lot of land is actually not registered. Also, unfortunately, as I mentioned before, the Lands Commission, it's not a electronic registry. So there is sometimes a lot of delay when you're dealing with the Lands Commission in terms of processing of searches. You would expect that, you know, sometimes in other jurisdictions, Western jurisdictions, you're able to go online and do a search and get documents back and obtain details about ownership instantaneously. Unfortunately, that's not the case in Ghana. So your search results can take up to a month or two for an official search result. And then also in terms of processing the registration, once you've acquired land, that process also takes time as well. That can take up to 1 year or more. So definitely, as I said, Lands Commission is trying to commercialize and, you know, make their systems electronic. Until such time, unfortunately, there will be delays in obtaining access to land information and registering your title or your interest in land.
Great.
So I would say those are the main challenges that exist with land title registration.
Okay, thank you very much. But is there talk about that? We've been hearing a lot of legal practitioners telling us when it comes to things like that, we should be more. We should do our due diligence. I just want to find out what are they. Sorry, a moment. When it comes to due diligence in acquiring a property, what are some of the, let me put it this way, how do legal practitioners, surveyors, and brokers ensure smooth property transitions?
Okay, so I mean, you've kind of touched on the key stakeholders in terms of those who provide services when somebody wants to acquire land. Now, in terms of course, as a lawyer, I mean, you need to instruct a lawyer so that they can undertake detailed due diligence on the land that you intend to buy. Now, in terms of the lawyer's role, they will, you know, assist you perhaps with negotiating heads of terms. They, of course, will review or draft all necessary documents. They will undertake due diligence, so they will undertake the necessary searches on the seller, on the land itself, to ensure that there are no encumbrances, no issues in terms of title ownership. So the person that's purporting to sell the property actually is the correct person that has the interest in land that can sell the property to you. So it's important that you have a lawyer that undertakes due diligence, as I said, reviewing documents, reviewing the title documents to ensure that there's a clean title, doing searches against the seller. That can be, you know, if the seller is a company, you need to make sure that you do searches at the company's registry and at the collateral registry. You need to make sure that you do searches at the High Court to make sure that the land and the seller is not involved in any disputes. And you need to make sure that, you know, of course, you will do searches at the Lands Commission itself, so on the title. Normally, unfortunately, you can only do searches against a site plan, or if the seller has a land certificate, then you can do a search against the land certificate. If there are no title documents in place, then you need to, of course, make investigations to make sure that the person who is purporting to sell the land is the seller. Now, if the land is store land, then you must also do a search at the Office of Administrator of Store Lands to make sure that the chief who is purporting to sell the land is the gazetted chief, okay? And as well as doing searches at the Traditional Council as well. If it's family land and there's a customary land secretariat, make sure that you do searches there to ensure that you're dealing with the principal elders of the family, because the principal elders of the family, when it comes to family land, are the representatives who can make decisions on behalf of the family. So you need to make sure that you're transacting with the right persons. So you make sure that you find a good lawyer who will do all the necessary due diligence. They will, of course, act for you throughout the whole life cycle of a project. So, as I said, even before the due diligence, perhaps assisting you with heads of terms in negotiating key details, including the price of the property. They will assist you pre-contract, so doing all the due diligence on the property. If everything's fine, they will also assist you with drafting or reviewing the sale and purchase contract, making sure that all necessary conditions precedents that may be required are included within the contract. For example, if, for example, the land is government land, then of course the approval of the Lands Commission will be required before the seller can sell the land to you. So you need to make sure that approval is obtained from the Lands Commission before completion. For example, if the permitted use under the lease is as residential, but you want to use the land for commercial purposes, then you'll need to get a change of user from the landlord, whoever the landlord is. If, for example, the property is zoned for residential use, but again, you perhaps want to use the land for commercial, then there'll need to be a rezoning that needs to take place. An application would have to be made at the relevant district assembly. So it's important that you do a zoning search to ascertain what the current zoning is of the land that you intend to acquire. And if it's a different use to what you need, then a zoning application will need to be made. So the lawyer deals with all aspects. They will assist you with exchanging the sale and purchase contract once it's been finalized, and then dealing with the steps between exchange and completion. So if there are any conditions precedents that need to be satisfied, they should be dealt with before completion. They will assist you with making sure that the purchase price is paid over to the seller or the seller's solicitor in accordance with agreed terms. Normally, what's also as lawyers we recommend is perhaps having an escrow arrangement. So you may enter into a separate escrow agreement which details the milestones and the manner in which payments should be made. Maybe you have a separate escrow agent, or your lawyer, if both parties agree, can act as an escrow agent, so that payments are only made to the seller when certain milestones have been achieved. And so your lawyer will essentially deal with your transaction, act for you throughout the whole life cycle of a project. You mentioned a surveyor. Surveyors are critical also because they, of course, make sure that the land that you want to acquire is actually what you're going to get and what you're going to be able to register at the Lands Commission. So normally they are very key in preparing plans that will be attached to the conveyance or the lease agreement, which basically delineates the extent of land that you are going to acquire and that can be registered at the Lands Commission. They will prepare either a normal site plan or a barcoded site plan, which is required at the Lands Commission before you can register land. They also provide key expertise in understanding, what's on the ground. So they will normally, of course, inspect the property to be able to pick the coordinates for the site plan, but they can also let you know, because they have good insight into the local area in terms of the customs, the culture, the community issues that perhaps may be affecting the property. So surveyors are obviously very, very key in working with lawyers to ensure that, that the buyer is acquiring the property, the extent of the property that they believe they are acquiring. So then they will provide the site plan. And actually, at the beginning of the chain of these stakeholders is the real estate broker. Now, they can act either, on behalf of the buyer or the seller, and they will act in the best interests of whoever they're representing. And so if it's the broker who's acting on behalf of the seller, they obviously will be looking at ensuring that they are marketing the property for the appropriate price and trying to agree a sale. And then if there's a broker who's acting for the buyer, they are obviously also, again, going to be negotiating on behalf of the buyer for the right price and making sure that it's a seamless transaction and all the details are agreed in terms of the issues relating to the property before then the lawyer is instructed, and then the surveyor also comes on board during the transaction. So it's important that when a buyer is looking to acquire land, that they do get licensed real estate brokers, licensed surveyors, and of course qualified and experienced lawyers to act for them.
Okay, thank you very much, Elizabeth. Because of time, I'll ask the last question, and if you have any additional advice to our audience, you can add them as well. In your submission, you mentioned some few things, and one thing I want to find out about is the key document, an individual needs, a key document, an individual essential document that is required for legally acquiring properties in Ghana. That's going to be my last question. If you have any addition, you add it so we can wrap up.
Okay, sure. So what is required in order to be able to register your interest at the Lands Commission is you need a title document. So what's important is you obtain a copy of the current title document, the seller's title document. So if the seller is, for example, transferring all of their interest in the land, for example, if it's an existing lease, then you need to have the original lease or a certified copy of the lease. If the seller is granting you a sublease, for example, then of course you'll be entering into a sublease with your seller. So that seller will, I guess, be your landlord. So then you need to make sure that you have a compliant sublease that will detail, the parties, the term of the sublease, the rent. It must include a site plan. There has to be an oath of proof that has to be certified also by the High Court. Now, the Land Act spells out all the requirements of the conveyance. So whether it's an assignment, in that the seller is assigning all of its interests in a property to the purchaser, or a lease where the buyer is taking a sublease of the seller's interest, you need to make sure that you have those documents that are compliant. Those documents then, in terms of the interest that's being conveyed to the purchaser, so if it's an assignment or it's a sublease, for example, they need to be stamped at the Lands Commission. The Lands Commission will not register a title document that is not stamped, and also an unstamped document is not available for any purpose. So your title document has to be stamped at the Lands Commission. It then has to be registered. If the property is located within a land title registration district, I mentioned those before, and they are Tema, Accra, some Kumasi, and some parts of Winneba, then once you've gone through the registration process, the Lands Commission will issue you a land certificate, okay? If your property is located in a non-registration district, you will not be issued with a land certificate, but your title document will be registered at the Lands Commission, will be plotted in the records of the Lands Commission, and it serves as actual notice that you have an interest in the land. So you will need, as I said, for registration, you'll need to make sure that you have your seller's title, evidencing that the seller is able to transfer an interest to you. And then you will need your title document that you will register your interest at the Lands Commission. That will provide you then with evidence that you are either the registered proprietor of land, if it's in a registration district, or if it's in a non-registration district, that you have an interest in the land. So those are the key documents that you need.
All right. Thank you very much, Elizabeth. We are far behind time, and I really appreciate you coming on. And we really appreciate your presentation and the fireside chat. Thank you very much. And
thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thanks very much. Bye.
Thank you very much, too. Bye. Okay, so at this moment, we transitioned to our next speaker. That's going to be our last keynote speaker for the day, which is in the person of. Let me check. Okay. All right. Just after this break, we'll have our next speaker coming on. Thank you. Okay. All right. Sean, you're welcome.
Hello, Ni.
Yes. I guess you are ready. We can hear you loud and clear. Your camera is good. So at this moment, I'll leave the stage for you, and it's all yours.
Good. Thank you very much, Ni. Hi, everyone. Very good to be here. Thank you very much to the Real Estate Future Summit and all the organizers and sponsors. And hello to everyone who's joining in. I believe there's a lot of people who are based in the US, and I'm sure we have some from elsewhere. So it's quite a dynamic audience, which is great. So I only have 10 minutes, and I'm going to try to stick to time. So very quickly, to introduce myself, my name's Sean Godoy. I'm based in Johannesburg in South Africa. I am co-founder of the PropTech Africa and SA PropTech Associations, and I've been quite involved in the PropTech space for a number of years from a research and a consulting angle. And sort of professionally, my day job is I run a real estate consultancy that is active in sub-Saharan Africa, and we do research and strategy, training, and also digital strategy or PropTech strategy for real estate stakeholders. So today, I'm just going to provide an introduction to the PropTech ecosystem in sub-Saharan Africa. So perhaps it's something not many of the audience are familiar with. Perhaps you've had some exposure, but this will just be a very quick snapshot, hopefully just to give you a few key highlights and perhaps a few ideas on where you'd like to learn more. So, first of all, obviously, I think like we all know, many African cities and countries and markets are a tale of two cities. So we often have varying levels of, sort of first world developed elements in our city in terms of sophistication of finance and real estate, and also the sort of quality that's delivered usually at a sort of upper middle to higher income. And then obviously we have a lot of informal housing and formal markets within our city. So PropTech has an important role to play because you'll see some PropTech, that's you see in various development markets that's playing perhaps in that sort of first world area, that luxury residential real estate. But there's also a big informal market, lots of inequality. So PropTech's also solving a lot of problems, particularly around access to housing, rental finance products, this type of thing, and payments platforms to bring a bit of certainty and more access, through innovative rental financing, home financing. Obviously, formal finance is quite limited in many countries for housing, but rental is important. And the big thing is, how do you build decent, affordable housing? There's a lot of practices or products on the construction side, which sits separately basically to PropTech, but obviously closely related, things like 3D printing, modular construction, which I won't touch on too much. But then in access to that housing is, there's things like rental deposit insurance. There's also products, in many countries like Nigeria, perhaps it's the same in Ghana, you pay 12 months rental up front. So some of these platforms offer micro financing, which allows you effectively, they pay out the landlord the full 12 months rental, and then you pay the platform, the company back monthly with obviously a percentage fee of interest. Sorry, just a second. There's been some construction work that started. Hopefully it won't interrupt us too much. Apologies for that. So like I said, a lot of PropTech activities around access to housing, also investments, especially relevant to the diaspora, are there ways, where we can bring tokenization, utilizing blockchain, etc. Can we make investment access easier for the diaspora and for local population, and even perhaps for the sort of lower income portions of the population that can't access real estate investment. So fintech is big in Africa. It's very established in terms of the startup technology ecosystem, and fintech has very clear overlaps with property in terms of microfinance, rental payments, but investment is quite exciting, and that's quite key, to leverage on the very valuable diaspora. Many countries like Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya have significant diasporas in countries like the US, which is probably the largest diaspora for many countries, and then the UK is probably, I suppose, second. But if you can make investment more accessible, it actually helps the local real estate market, because it's access for funding for developers in a market where funding can be very difficult. Often you need a lot of developers need equity, and then there's perhaps high net worth individuals that contribute capital. But if you're able to utilize platforms like crowdfunding to tokenize actual physical retail, residential, it can really help the whole ecosystem. So that's just a few points to touch on. These issues are common in a lot of markets, but construction technology or Contech, PropTech, and then PropTech combined with FinTech can solve a lot of these problems in quite exciting ways. So this is just obviously key regions and cities in Africa, which I'm sure everyone's familiar with. I'll move through some slides a bit quicker because of the time constraint. So obviously we have a very tech savvy population, which makes, addressing issues with housing across the board, especially in lower income, people tend to be, have access to smartphones, etc. So it does help when you're delivering technology products. In terms of tech startup funding is obviously just one measure of the success of an ecosystem or a specific area of tech, but it's very clear that there's a strong upward trajectory for funding for African tech. So this is overall tech. There's a lot of things happening in ed tech, agri tech, health tech. Prop tech still a very small portion, but overall there's a lot more capital interested in Africa. So we see the projection. Obviously, there was a drop in 23, due to a sort of global dry up of VC funding, but that's another story. So anyway, there's a lot of interest in capital willing to support tech in Africa. This just shows quickly there's the four main tech markets who raise the most funding, and that's Egypt, Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa. But markets obviously such as Ghana, Rwanda, other countries in East Africa like Tanzania, Uganda, excuse me, they are growing, but there's the big four basically that you'll hear of. So here you can see again a depiction that shows you startup HQ locations. So where are the startups headquartered? So that gives you an idea of activity. Ghana does feature along with Benin. So obviously there is activity, but if you see relative to size of economies, this split makes sense. Coming back quickly to the type of tech activity in Africa, it's useful to have a broader sort of understanding. So logistics and transport, fintech, energy and water, and agri and food are by
Okay. Okay, I believe we lost Sean for a bit there. Let's give him some time to see if we'll get him back. And then we'll do that. But it's been an amazing session here at the Real Estate Future Summit. Thank you to everyone who stayed on this long for the session. It's been quite amazing. And thank you to all our partners and our speakers for the session today, for joining the session. Okay, so we're just hearing from Sean Cody, and unfortunately he's off the session now. Hopefully he'll be able to join soon before we wrap up the session. But the theme for this year's summit has been navigating change, future ready real estate strategies. So that was what determined some of the discussions that we had on the panel, as well as the keynote sessions that we did have for today. So thankful to all our speakers for today, including founders and managers of the team group, that's Christine team and Einstein team, for their putting this together, as well as the team group and then the Canatech Summit and Global Startup Ecosystem as well. Thank you to our speakers for that. Me, who is the CEO and founder of RMK Realty Limited, also the president of GREPA. Also Abdul Razak Jima, who is the mortgage manager at Fidelity Bank Ghana Limited. We are just hearing from Sean Cody, who is the co-founder of PropTech Africa Association in Diversity Property Solutions. Earlier on, we had Elizabeth Sean, who is the partner of energy and infrastructure at Bento Estates Ankara and Kuma. Okay. Then we also had Natasha Osei from Aquia Properties, and Edward Aqua, the CEO of Eddie Aqua Properties, Benai Rollins from Z Homes, and Priscilla Kuchina from Justborn Group of Companies, and Ni Amarov, the program lead from Intim Group. It's been an amazing session. You agree with me? It's been me, Sadate, from Canatech Summit, GSC, and then the Intim Group leading this session. We're thankful to all our speakers and our partners for joining us for this session. So until next time, it's goodbye from us here at the Global Startup Ecosystem Team Group at the GSC, or leaders for the Real Estate Future Summit. Thank you all so much, and do enjoy the rest of your day.